Got it.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'll just repeat that since we're on the record now. I just want everybody to know that we are recording the meeting. And so everybody is being recorded. Sorry, I don't know how I moved myself. All right. All right. So I think you can hear me now. We are recording the meeting. Everybody's being recorded. I want to make sure that everybody has notice of that, and that at the conclusion of the meeting, we will be posting it, the recording on YouTube, so that if anybody wants to go back and look at it and read it, listen to it, then you're welcome to do that. So the first order of business is to approve the agenda. And so we've posted that. And I guess that there's two things that I know of that I'll just mention. One is that under government reports, I'm going to add that Barbara Bree is asked to make a government report. She's going to be here at 6:30, kind of like how we scheduled Todd Gloria last time. So that under government reports at 6:30, I'll be looking for Barbara Bree. And if I can't find her, Margaret, if you can help me find her, I'd appreciate that. So that'll be an addition. And just to give everybody a heads up, I think she's going to talk about city's plans related to short-term rentals, which I think is an issue that people in Point Loma care about. And the second one I'm going to let Mandy talk about, but I think one of her action items is really just going to be an informational item. So which item is that, Mandy?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with the following modification: to move the board initiated action item number 2 regarding the letter of support for or against the proposed development of the Midway Sports Arena RFP as an informational item instead, because the subcommittee took no action at that meeting. So I wanted to move that to as an informational item instead of an action item, please.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Do we have a second for that motion? Mark? Any further discussion on the agenda? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. All right, I got Robert, Sarah, Brad, Margaret, Mandy, Mark, Lucky, Don. I think it's unanimous.
Okay. And then just complete that form and send it to Sarah.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you.
All right, so the next item is to approve the minutes from our previous meetings. And so Sarah, which do you want to go ahead and present which minutes we would be approving?
Yeah, so that will be from the September meeting. I still need to do the August ones. I wasn't at the August meeting, so I have to go back and watch the whole recording and haven't had so sorry, September minutes. Okay,
so and then you circulated those to everybody on the board. I'll say, does anybody have any comments on the September minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the September minutes? All right, looks like Mark would make a motion to approve the September minutes. Does anybody want to second that? That's Margaret. All right, all those in favor of approving the September minutes? As far as I can tell from the hands, that would be unanimous. Perfect. So Mark, you get to send in the motion papers on that one. All right, board officer reports. I'm going to start with the president's report. And the first thing that I wanted to say, I just wanted to thank everybody for being understanding last month when I was on vacation and letting me leave halfway through the meeting. I wanted to thank David Dick for stepping in at the last minute and taking over doing that. So I did really appreciate it. I'm thankful for that. For the record, I guess David's not here tonight, but I know that he had a close family member recently pass away, so our prayers are with David. Then I want to move on. I still think that the health of the planning board is strong, and I just really want to thank all the board members for everything they're doing. And I'm just going to highlight a couple. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I want to really thank Margaret for stepping up and organizing the meeting tonight and doing the Zoom. I mean, that was, great job, Margaret. Made it very smooth, so thank you. And then I just wanted to point out that Mandy, and I think at the traffic subcommittee meeting, had 30 people attend. And I I don't have official records, but I think that might be a record for the number of people attending a traffic subcommittee meeting. So Mandy is doing a fabulous job, and I really like seeing that type of community involvement. And then the other one I wanted to highlight is that it's sort of the core value of the planning board, which is project review. And Mark, I just think over the last 3 months, we've unclogged these projects. We're getting people's projects through. So thank you. Great job. Great job. And then the last thing I have on my report would be is that just to let everybody know, I was recently appointed to the San Diego City Redistricting Commission for 2020. And so that means that right, all the different city council districts will be moved and changed. Lines will be done. We will do it in a fair and impartial way. But we're in District 2, and I plan to represent the whole city. But I will definitely zealously represent District 2. So as that process moves forward, you'll probably hear more. And if there's anybody who's ever interested in redistricting and what's going on in that city level, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. So with that, I don't know if there's any questions for the chair. And if not, we will move on. And David is not here, so we won't have a vice chair. Corla, do you have a report for treasurer? And
I do, and I'm glad to be able to attend.
Right?
Yeah, I figured out how to hotspot off of my phone. So I'm actually in Utah and having a great time. It's beautiful here. Anyway, the treasurer's report is we have $757.81. We received a $100 donation towards our Zoom expenses, and there has been no other activity other than that. And I'd just like to quickly piggyback on what you said, Fred, and thank Margaret for stepping up and doing this for us. I mean, I picked the right month to be gone. If you got 60 people, girl, thank you so much. And then Fred, kudos to you for your appointment, and thank you for what you're doing. And Mark, congratulations on your information and helping people out with that chapel business. I finally got a service today. We were gone all day, and I was able to read that. So we got a lot of celebrities with us tonight. So thank you everybody for all that you do.
All right, Sarah, do you have any treasurer or secretary report?
No, nothing, no.
Okay. All right, well then we will move on to non-agenda.
Fred, really quickly, I did see that there's Cameron with his hand up as well. I'm not sure, Cameron, is that fake news? Okay, nope. And then I just really quickly want to say that thank you to you, Fred, for keeping us together, and this group in Corla also for, I know you're out of town, but thank you for kind of showing me some tricks behind the running these meetings. And then we all on this board may not always agree, but at the end of the day, I think we're all doing our part to represent the voices in the community and, you know, handling these subcommittees as they should. So I want to just give a whole round of applause to the team, because the communication this time around during the pandemic is pretty incredible. And I appreciate being on this board with each and every one of you. So thank you for helping me.
Thank you, Margaret. Well said. Okay, I don't believe that Tony Kempton's here, and I'll make no editorial comment. But so we'll go on to non-agenda public comment. So I don't know if there's people that want to make non-agenda public comment. Please raise their hands, and I'd be happy to get you. I think I see Corla, then Tracy, and then I'll get to others. I see Cameron down there, Don. We'll get to all of you. Corla, you can go first.
Quickly, excuse me, I always have something to say. Mark laughs every time I say it. I want everybody to not only vote, but plan your vote. I can't share the link, but there is a website you can register and you can track your ballot in the state of California. And I knew where mine was before it got to me. So that's a really important thing to do. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Corla. Tracy, I'm going to let you go next, and I'll ask you for your editorial opinion as to whether you like the gluten-free bread at Ike's or not.
First off, no, I did not like it. I found it to be very dry. Okay, so I am a non-agenda public comment for the Commission for Arts and Culture. I just wanted to let anybody know who operates or runs a nonprofit that does community events or contributes to community and culture kinds of events that The fiscal year 2022 application has just opened, and the deadline for getting in your request for funding is November 13th. And one of the exciting things that they changed this year is there used to be a 3-to-1 matching requirement for organizational support, and they've changed that to a 1-to-1 matching requirement. And for the creative communities funding, it used to be 1-to-1, but they've also this year added a 1-to-1 or 1-to-half with 50% of in-kind funding. So what that is doing is it's actually leveling the playing field for a lot of organizations who may not be like the old Globe and have a huge amount of funding and a lot of backing and, you know, a lot of just extra cash. So we've recognized that it's been a really tough year and that we needed to level the playing field and make more opportunities for people who may not have been, you know, that top tier of organizations in San Diego that always seem to have a ton of money. Another thing that the commission is doing this year is they are offering a bunch of workshops. So if you have questions about what the type of funding is, how to apply for it, how to get a fiscal sponsor, the two types of nonprofits that the city likes to work with are 501c3s and 501c6s. But if you're not one of those, you can do something called fiscal sponsorship, and you can get one, and they just basically are kind of your, they're just kind of your backer, essentially. So if you aren't one of those, then you can get a backer who is, and they apply in lieu of, you know, you, and then you can apply for the money and everything. So there's a lot of good opportunities for groups that are really trying to do things for their community in terms of arts and culture. So if anybody has any questions or runs an organization and wants to reach out to me, I'm going to put my email in the chat, and I would be happy to direct you to whoever you need for funding.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Don, would you like to go next? We have to unmute Don. All right. Cameron, if you can unmute. Oh, there, he's unmuted. Okay, go ahead, Don.
Hi, Don Severin's a board member for the past 6 years. If we can ever get an election to be held, I'm one of 10 very strong candidates, and I'll be among those in the running. I hope that someone will give us a report on where we stand on the election. I understand that David has a tragedy in his family. Perhaps somebody in that committee can speak for him. What I really wanted to bring up is that many organizations have what is called good of the order. Good of the order. And it's usually near or at the end of the meeting. It isn't an every meeting type thing. And if someone has a heartfelt suggestion to do something that will better the organization's mission to bring them together, they can speak to it under good of the order. Right now, we're trying to do that under public non-agenda comments. If there is interest in the good of the order concept, I would be happy to explain it to Fred at appropriate time. Thank you.
Okay, I'd be happy to talk to you about it, Don. And I know that on the election, we've been pushing on that because that's an important issue. And I know that David was pushing very hard on the city officials and trying to get a meeting together. And about the time that meeting was supposed to happen was the same time that he had the death in his family. And you know, I guess I'm making my comment on the record. It appears that, you know, the city is, you know, not moving quickly on this. And so we are working on trying to get city approval for that. So that slows it down. Cameron, did you want to make a comment?
Hey, Dave. Hey, Fred. Yes, I do. I just want to kind of piggyback on that. I know the first chair has been busy. He's unavailable right now, but I feel it's really important that we somehow figure out how to get a committee election meeting in. As Tony Kempton pointed out at 2 meetings ago, the city's not going to give us a plan, and they're not going to be helpful on a plan. So waiting for the city to do anything at this point with the election committee is kind of a moot point. And the subcommittee really does need to figure out a way to get together and put together some sort of plan or agenda. And I know that this is hard times, but my concern is that we're going to roll out of October, we're going to be into November, into holiday season, then we're going to shut down in December, and it's going to be January, then it's going to be February, and then next thing you know, we're instead of electing just 7 people, we're going to have a whole new board. And so I think we need to have some sort of long-term plan, maybe delay elections for everyone by 1 year. And hey, this is my son Chris, wanting to participate in parliamentary procedure. I hope you all have a good night. And I just thought I'd throw that out there as something, as another possibility that could alleviate some of the issues that we're having right now. Maybe push everyone's elections, extends everybody's term by 1 year, and then just hold our normal elections in March, taking COVID into account. Just because of the timing and everything going on, I think that might help alleviate some stuff. Thank you for your time, and sorry for my distracting son. Have a great day.
And Fred, I'm going to interrupt you. Barbara Bree has joined us.
Okay. Hey, Barbara, welcome. We're just finishing up non-agenda public comments, so you will be up in a minute or two, but and we may not have any more. I think that, but I will ask to finish this section. Is there anybody else that wanted to make a non-agenda public comment?
Hi, yes, this is Iris. I'm with the U.S. Census Bureau. I'm with the downtown San Diego office, and I just wanted to remind everybody really quickly that today is the last day to respond to the census. It's the last opportunity is to go online to my2020census.gov, and that actually will be, the website will be deactivated at 11:59 Hawaii time. So we actually have till 3 a.m. in California. Please, if you haven't done so, it's so very, very important that you do so, and immediately. Thank you very much. That's all.
Iris, can I ask you a quick question? On the Redistricting Commission, they sent me some information that there's some bills in Congress to extend the census deadline. So is that, do you know anything about that?
It went to court in California, back and forth. The deadline was from September 30th, then October 5th, then October 31st, and then the Supreme Court said, guess what? You guys are done. Okay. So the final word is today, October 15th.
So Iris, we had one comment where, could you repeat just a little bit slower what the link is in case somebody wanted to fill out the census?
Oh, not a problem. I was going to put it on the chat line. It is my2020census.gov. So just the word, the letters M and Y before 2020 census.
Okay.
.gov.
Thank you.
And I'll put it on the website, on the chat room. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other non-agenda public comment?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead. That would be.
Will there be, I think I'm trying to be a new member of this group. Will there be a time to talk about that? Like, what are the rules of joining to be an official member?
I mean, I'll just say in general, right, the planning board is open for everybody to participate, and then we have an annual election, which is what people were talking about. But we welcome everybody to join the meeting and participate fully.
Yeah, and Delana, she's actually been a participant in several of the last few traffic meetings, and I've really appreciated her contributions. She's wanting to get more involved in the community, and on the board, she'd like to start attending the meetings every month. And so I'll be sure to keep her informed of that as well. But she was interested in possibly serving on a committee. So I did tell her there's a variety of committees that are on the website if she's interested in participating in any of those meetings. You don't have to be elected in to participate. So I do appreciate Delana and her contributions. Thank you.
And that's excellent summation there, Mandy. Any other non-agenda public comment? All right, I see none. So we are going to move on to government reports, and the first one we're going to do, we do like and appreciate Barbara Bree being here. It's always nice to have elected officials here that know what's going on and informing the community. So I understand that Barbara's going to talk about short-term rentals, which is an important issue in the beach communities, including Point Loma. So I will turn it over to Barbara to make a comment.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me tonight. I was reading your community plan, which was last updated in 1987. And you represent, many diverse communities in beautiful neighborhoods. And I know that short-term rentals have been an important issue in your community. I've been, I currently represent District 1 on the San Diego City Council, which is just north of your council district. My council district starts at La Jolla. It includes La Jolla, University City, Carmel Valley, Del Mar Heights, and UCSD. And the short-term rental issue impacts more neighborhoods in my district than you could imagine, more than just La Jolla. And my position has been clear that I believe the mayor should simply be enforcing our existing municipal code, which prohibits them in our neighborhoods. And I am opposed to the proposal that has been brought forward by Councilmember Campbell, which I view as a proposal that was really written by the vacation rental industry. And some of you may have attended the recent Planning Commission meeting where they voted to send her proposal off to city staff to further examine how regulation could work. I think her plan is very convoluted. It would be just as easy to enforce our existing municipal code against having these units in our neighborhoods as the complicated regulatory system that she's set up. What I'm most concerned about is this is taking housing away from San Diegans. And last summer, we were told by our city auditor that there are about 16,000 single-family homes in the city that are being used as short-term rentals. And that's about $1 billion worth of housing. And in addition, we're now learning that many apartment units are being used as short-term rentals. And these were permitted to be lived in for at least 30 days at a time. So at a time that we're talking about, we have a housing affordability issue, we don't have enough housing, I can't understand why our current mayor just simply won't enforce the existing municipal code. So I hope you all will stay vigilant as this goes back to the Planning Commission. As you know, there will be a new mayor and 5 new members of the City Council in December. And if this is an issue that's important to your community, it's important to let City Hall know where you stand.
Thank you, Barbara. Do we have any questions for Councilperson Bereid? Corla?
Yes, I had to unmute. Council member, thank you for attending. I appreciate you being here. I am the CPC representative for the Peninsula Community Planning Board. And there's been discussion there about the housing targets from the state possibly being too high.
Yes.
The CPC chair is investigating that. Do you have any insider information about those numbers that the state is pushing on us? And do you feel that we need that much housing, and especially in light of 16,000 short-term vacation rental units that we're missing?
Yeah, so first of all, there was an excellent report done by a group called the Embarcadero Institute. Have you seen that report? I think if you Google them, you can get the report pretty quickly. And it points out flaws in how the housing numbers were figured out on a statewide basis. And based on the way that our housing needs were calculated, it was about 172,000 units between now and 2030. But based on how the Embarcadero Institute looks at the numbers, it's about 112,000. And this is countywide. So this is more than just the city. And I think actually because of the pandemic, I think these numbers probably the lower numbers probably make more sense to me. I think because of the pandemic, California in general is going to grow more slowly. We're already seeing in the Bay Area, which is much more expensive than we are, that many people are leaving the Bay Area. I mean, housing prices are dropping in the Bay Area. Apartment rental prices are dropping in the Bay Area. I mean, it's actually the market's working. And it's unclear to me what this is going to mean for San Diego. I don't think we're going to see the devastation that San Francisco is seeing. I mean, they're also seeing, a lot of empty office buildings in San Francisco, I think we're seeing some of that here, but we're very fortunate to have a vibrant biotech sector and tech sector, which have continued growing and hiring during the pandemic. But I think I'm very glad that CPC is going to be looking at this. And as a council member, I will pay attention to what you come up with and would be happy to meet with you. But I would say read the Embarcadero Institute study. That's the new study that came out about that the numbers may have been way too high.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? I see one from Brad Herring. Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, hi, Barbara.
Hi, Brad.
Regarding the short-term vacation rentals, it's been stated that because of the city's lack of enforcement on our existing code, should have been enforced years and years ago, that Verbo and Airbnb will bring lawsuits against the city if they try to enforce the specific codes that are in place for these local hotels in our residential neighborhoods.
Yeah, so
is that true or not?
Yeah, so for legal advice on this, I have relied on John Thixton, who's an excellent attorney who's on the board of Save San Diego Neighborhoods, and he says that is a false argument. Coronado enforces his existing municipal code, which is very similar to ours, and Airbnb has not sued them.
Okay, do we have other questions? I'm looking for hands. Go to the second page.
There is one person that raised her hand, Fred Acuna.
Okay.
Hi there. Hi, Barbara. Thank you.
Oh, Rosa Maria. Yes. Rosa Maria, go ahead.
I have a question. Will the Coastal Commission play a part in the vacation rentals as far as keeping them enforced? And then my second question with is the ADU units that are in place now that everybody's getting permits and changing our fabric of home ownership in the community. My understanding was that they were to benefit the homeowners and their families to live within their community, but yet those are being turned over into Airbnb as well.
So actually, two good questions. First, if we simply enforce our existing municipal code, the Coastal Commission can do nothing. If we try to pass a new ordinance, which is what Jennifer Campbell is proposing, the Coastal Commission has to review it. So that's why we're on safer ground, just enforcing our existing municipal code. Any ADU that was permitted, I'm not sure of the certain date, about a year or so ago, has to be rented for at least 30 days at a time. Which is, that's the definition of a long-term rental, 30 days and more. So theoretically, you could rent a unit to a different family every month of the year, and you would fall within our existing municipal code. The city actually is enforcing in cases where people are using a new ADU as a short-term rental. If you have a problem, I would appreciate if you would let my council office know about this, because the city is actually doing something in this particular area. And when we made it easier to do an ADU, I was adamant about getting into that ordinance that they must be rented for at least 30 days at a time.
How could San Diegans here along the coast, especially and throughout, follow in Coronado's footsteps? I mean, they are so rigid and they are like on it. Yet here it's a total chaos and party.
It's all about the leadership at City Hall and having a mayor who will enforce. Richard Bailey enforces. He's willing to enforce.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Hey, Fred, there's a list of people in order if you want that.
Okay, sure. What?
Elizabeth Getzoff has had her hand up for some time, and you can't see her background.
All right. Elizabeth, why don't you go ahead?
Brad asked my question.
Okay.
Thanks.
Who do you have next, Margaret?
And then next, sorry, I was just trying to help you out, Fred. And then next, I have Cameron Havlick.
Go ahead, Cameron.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Ms. Free. I'm a big fan. I just wanted to know who you would recommend to vote for the upcoming mayoral election. And and if you had any particular stance on Measure E. Thank you for your time. Have a great night.
So I'm here as a council member today. So but I will tell you how I'm voting on Measure E. So I am voting no on Measure E. And I think many of you know I voted against putting it on the ballot.
Yeah, and I
Thank you so much.
appreciate Cameron's question, but she is here as a council member, so I think we should keep the questions to council issues and city issues and get stay out of politics.
Yeah.
I apologize. Sorry.
I've got Lucky's next.
All right, hey Lucky, go ahead.
All righty. The comment I had was I think a lot of the problems we have in this city, and even around, particularly around like the rental issues, is because the council is getting very poor legal advice from the city attorney's office. And I'd like to put in a plug for Corey Briggs to take over in that position. And I think you'll find a good many of these types of issues will be addressed. So that's just a friend plug for Corey. And if Barbara chooses to comment on that, please feel free.
So I won't comment on that today.
All right, why don't we move on to the next question? Who do you got after that?
Angela Vetter.
Go ahead, Angela.
Hi. The question was already asked, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Do we have anybody else? All right. Well, Barbara, we really appreciate you coming out, and we appreciate you sharing your thoughts on an important issue that affects a lot of communities in San Diego. So thank you.
Thank you for including me, and please stay in touch with my office, particularly if there are ADUs in your neighborhood that are newer that are being rented for more than 30 days at a time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So moving on to government reports, let's go local to our friends in Ocean Beach. Tracy, you want to give us a government update on what's going on in Ocean Beach?
Gosh, I'm so excited. I get to go first this time. That's amazing.
That's right. Well, I apologize. You know, we had so much stuff going on that I really wanted to get to the business. So I put government reports in the end a couple of times, and we want to get that information out to the community too. So yes, I appreciate your patience.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so the Ocean Beach Planning Board actually had a pretty eventful last meeting. I'm just going to run off a list of the things that we discussed and the action items that we took. And if anybody has any questions about them, feel free to ask. So one of the things that we did was we actually sent a letter to the mayor requesting immediate relief from the sidewalk vendor issues that we are experiencing in Ocean Beach. And we asked City Council as well to address the sidewalk vendor ordinance that has been pushed under the rug. So I think it's come to a head at Veterans Park that, you know, people are setting up there without permits. They're not paying attention to COVID-related safety issues, and it's kind of a free-for-all there. So I think it's coming to a head, and somebody in the city really needs to address it. And we sent a very strongly worded letter requesting that they take a look at it and please do something. Let's see, we also sent a letter requesting a dedicated turn lane and bike lane for West Point Loma and Nimitz. So right, if you pass the dog park and you're gonna make a right-hand turn onto West Point Loma, the city went ahead and put a bike lane there. But the problem is many people are still using that bike lane as a right-hand turn lane. And we received a number of concerns from the community that, you know, it's a dedicated bike lane and technically we're not supposed to drive in it, but everybody still does out of habit. So we actually sent in a letter requesting that a dedicated bike lane be constructed. And there were two different kinds. One was an absolute protected one that would separate the bike lane and put it kind of in that dead park area. And then another one would just be to add two, you know, side by side. So at least there would be an opportunity for cars and bikes to progress through that area. The preferred method, of course, would be the complete protected one that pulls the bicycles away from the flow of traffic. So we've sent in a letter for them to analyze that area and see what they can do. We also saw a really amazing proposal for estuary enhancement projects. the estuary around Dog Beach is used as a, you know, everybody goes there and everybody lets their dogs off leash, and they're terrorizing the birds and they're destroying the natural habitat. So we saw a really great project that would put some beautiful fencing and designate a secure path, and it would protect the birds and the nesting environment that we have there. And most of the board were very happy about it. Let's see, we also sent in a letter for parking lot time limits at the beach. That also included kind of a hierarchy of lists or needs that we wanted. The first thing was that we requested to have actual time limits implemented. So I think the consensus was that we all agreed on a 4-hour time limit. And according to Teddy, that sounds like something that we might actually be able to get, which is very exciting. Other options that we presented were setting up a barrier that comes down at night to block people from actually parking in the parking lots at night. We have a real problem with our parking lots. Obviously, people are camping out there all night. There's residences around there. The noise is unacceptable, and it's becoming a real problem. So one of the options that we were asking for is to get barriers that come down at night and lock people out. So there were a couple other things that, you know, were on the list and on our motion, but right now it looks like the 4-hour time limit is easier to implement. And then the barrier, we have to go a little bit further and you know, dig a little bit more for that one. And then we also sent in a request for Eber Street Park improvements. And you know, things for a fence to protect the children because it's on a busy street, and things that, you know, the older kids can do, like a rock wall or a protected water fountain where people could fill their bottles, solar lighting and shade, things like that. So that was, it was a very productive meeting, and we got a lot done, and we're just chipping away. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Tracy. It looks like I have a question from Margaret and then Robert.
Great. Some feedback. I really appreciate you reporting on Ocean Beach, and we're so close to one another that I'd like to really invite you to our next long range planning meeting, which hopefully I can coordinate next week, to kind of bring some of OB's issues to the table and figure out a way that we can support you guys as our neighbors. Because as I can't preach this enough, and I've been doing this my entire time on this board, is we utilize Midway, Liberty Station, Ocean Beach, Point Loma. I know myself, I'm constantly doing this every day, you know, so I feel your pain with your issues. And I think it's important for this board to understand and support some of those issues that you're trying to provide to the city. So I encourage you to try to make that meeting, Tracy, to bring some of those Ocean Beach issues to our long range planning committee, so that way we can definitely keep you guys on the radar and help you if we can with some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You just have to send me, you know, the heads up and when it's happening and stuff, and
I'll do that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well stated, Margaret. Well stated. Well stated. Robert?
Yeah, Tracy. I'm just curious if you can shed some light on this. Saw on the news last night, you know, that security patrol that the citizens have set up in OB.
I don't know anything else other than what you know.
Okay.
I know that it's a group of people who are very frustrated with our aggressive transient issues that we have in Ocean,
right.
But they are, I mean, they're not sanctioned by, you know, the planning board. We don't know. Right. Asked us about it. We don't know anything about it. And as far as I know, they're not sanctioned by any, you know, OBMA or the OB Town Council.
Right.
So I'm not sure what's going on there. I think that they're just a group of community members who are over it. They're frustrated.
So I'm assuming that the Merchants Association, right? You said that hired the security patrol back a few years ago. That's no longer going on down there anymore.
I'm actually not so sure if it is or isn't. I haven't heard anything about it. I know that OBMA has been strapped for cash lately.
Right.
Because they haven't been able to put on the events that they normally do. So that could have been one of the things that has fallen, you know, COVID casualty kind of thing.
Okay.
But that's all I know right now. And, you know, we do appreciate all of the police that do come out and try to, you know, enforce the neighborhood, but, you know, their hands are tied and there's limited resources. So I think that the community, a handful of the community are fed up and they're trying to figure out what they can do, and maybe it'll help.
Well, maybe I'll prop some attention, but thank you for the insight. I just wanted to bounce that off of you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Margaret, you got a follow-up?
Yeah, and I forgot to ask you this, and this is really important because I have been going, you know, down there lately to do some cardio, and I've noticed that parking lot has got so much gnarly activity during the day. I mean, I was down there for a couple hours on Saturday and witnessed some really gnarly stuff. And is there a way that OB Planning Board can push for that parking lot to be closed and gated at a certain time? I mean, do you know how that parking lot works right now? Is it just open 24 hours?
So that is one of the parking lots. Yeah, so that is one of the parking lots that is going to be addressed by the 4-hour time limit, and if we can get it, the barrier to prevent people from living in the parking lot in the evening. But that particular parking lot, I think, has some interesting features. Like, I think it has a couple of 24-hour spots that are there for early morning fishermen. I mean, that's what I kind of heard last time. So there's a little bit of funkiness with that particular lot. But all of the lots in Ocean Beach, the Pier 1, the Lifeguard Tower, and the Dog Beach parking lot are all lots that we are trying to address with the 4-hour limit, the enforcement of evening parking, and getting barriers to try to keep people out. We've also put in our request an option for paid parking. But that gets a little, you know, there's a lot of people who are very much against that. And, you know, there are a number of people who are very much for it. So, you know, it's kind of a hit or miss. We had thought about maybe doing a combination or a tiered thing where, like, your first 4 hours are free, but if you stay, you know, after that, then you would pay extra or something. So that might discourage the people from living there all day, you know. So those are all options that we put in our request list, and we did hear from Teddy. So he said that we could more than likely get the 4-hour parking limit. That would be easy to implement, but, you know, he's still looking at some of the other options.
Well, Tracy, thank you. We really appreciate it. And if people have further questions for Tracy, certainly feel free to contact her directly. So yep. Try to keep things moving on. I think we'll go to District 2, and if Josh is here, I think that he has a new person, Monique, I believe, that he's going to introduce us to, who's going to be our new representative. So I'll turn it over to you, Josh.
Thanks, Fred. Good to be with you all. Good evening. Josh Coyne, Director of Community Engagement with Councilmember Jennifer Campbell's office. As Fred alluded to, I am happy to announce that Monique will be our new Point Loma community representative. I'll still be with the office serving in community engagement and outreach activities, but Monique will be handling all of our community rep work from here on out. And Monique is on the call with us tonight. She used to work in Councilmember Zaff's office and then comes to us from Councilmember Mark Kersey's office. So she has a lot of experience, and I'm happy to introduce her and welcome her to the call.
Hi everybody, good evening. So just a little background on myself. I will be the new Point Loma representative. A little bit familiar with the community since I was already a representative with District 2 previously. I served the Rancho Bernardo before this, and I moved back to District 2. So I'm going to be looking forward to working with you guys, knowing some of your issues and helping you out. I'll send my contact information in the chat so you guys could all have it. You can reach me there. Feel free to ask me any questions anytime. I'll be happy to assist you. I'll go straight into the city council updates. About this month, just a little update. There are some delays to the recycling collection. They're going to be recycled or collected one day after the normal collection. They also have a little map that the city department put out to see if there's going to be impacted to your community directly. I could also send that link to the chat so you guys could check. Not all community areas are being impacted, so I highly recommend to check that to see if and when you should put out your collection. Also, the park enforcement is going to be resumed today, so that's going back to normal. No more parking meters that are free. You're gonna have to pay for them. Also, make sure to check the signs if you're parking in the correct area. We wouldn't want anybody to get any violations or citations for that. Earlier this month, short-term vacation rental proposal went to the Planning Commission. They went ahead and asked to return it to the December 3rd meeting. So that's going to be a return for the discussion on the short-term vacation rentals. We'll keep you updated as that comes forward again, but right now the date is December 3rd. And I believe that is all for now.
Do we have any questions for Monique? We're going to let you off easy, Monique, since you're brand new, but they'll have some grilling questions for you.
I think Robert Tripp Jackson had his hand up.
You got one, Robert? Okay.
Yeah, Monique, welcome. You know, the one thing I see over and over again, and I brought up before, and I talked to Conrad Ware about it a few days ago, is, and I understand the parking enforcement is starting today, but we have a real problem during the weekdays after 3 p.m. with people parking in front of the Point Loma post office. And what happens is when people try to drop off their mail, the traffic gets backed up through Rosecrans. So I was just wondering if your office, along with maybe the mayor's, could have maybe trigger some meter maid activity during that time. But like I said, after 3 to 5:30, people just park because they get frustrated, and then they get out of their car, and then people can't go pull up to service their drop.
Okay, I'll look into that and touch base with Conrad. Me and him were old coworkers, so I know him pretty well. So I'll check in with him.
I sent him a video of what happened, so he kind of saw firsthand. So that would be great.
I'll follow up with him. Thank you.
Okay.
I also would like to add something. Monique,
go ahead, Rosemaria.
Welcome, and I'm really excited that you'll be also assisting and helping us in the community. It would be great to, you might not be able to show your face today, but I am a visual person, so if you could maybe send us your card with a photo or something that we can continue to communicate. You also brought to our attention that the enforcement of parking, which I guess that's a start in the right direction, especially for Ocean Beach, since Tracy was just expressing the situation there. Were you on the call the entire time and able to help out in any way in regards to what Tracy had to say about the parking issues in Ocean Beach?
Yeah, so I'm not really too familiar with what's going on in Ocean Beach at the moment. I just joined a couple days ago, so getting kind of up to speed on that. But if it has to do anything with parking lots, I am familiar that that was something the community has been asking for before I even joined this office. I will follow up with Teddy if that's something that you guys want to update on from our office for the next meeting. Happy to do that. But parking enforcement is now going back up to speed. They stopped it for COVID to kind of help relieve some of that, I guess, extra financial hardships that people were going through. And now that it's been a couple months, people are going back into their regular routines. They could go ahead and start up their parking enforcement, also help increase more activity or more parking for the businesses, as well as people will leave and come.
So maybe a private, how can we bring, what is the best way to bring you up to speed on what's happening with the parking issues and the parking lots? Is it a separate meeting, or Josh can join the conversation?
Is this the parking lots in Ocean Beach or Point Loma?
I think on the Peninsula. I think if you're
Peninsula.
Yeah, absolutely.
You reach out to my email. I put my email in the chat, and then that way we could communicate. If you want to set up a phone call, happy to do that as well.
Okay, perfect. And what is your phone number, Monique?
You could call me at 619-235-5282. 5282.
Thank you.
But it's really best to email me. It's a little bit easier to kind of set things up that way. Sometimes I'm not in the office to answer the phone.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your service.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say, Monique, that with the COVID, Ocean Beach and certainly Point Loma all the way to Sunset Cliffs in particular, Sunset Cliffs Park has been heavily impacted by increased traffic and people not acting appropriately, which causes an adverse impact on local community members. So we certainly would appreciate any assistance you can give us in that area.
Absolutely.
Okay, why don't we go to looking for we can go to Muska if she wants to give a report on the Navy and what's going on there.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have any specific updates. I see that you have it on your on your agenda for Mandy possibly talk about the discussions that happened at the subcommittee meeting. So I'll defer that to her, but I'm just here observing and here to answer any questions that the community may have.
Okay, well, we're okay with that. We have lots to do. So, but we appreciate you having here, and obviously Navy's an important neighbor. So we're glad to have you here. I don't know if Michaela is here for Assemblyperson Gloria, and if Michaela wants to say anything.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, Fred.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Michaela from Assemblymember Todd Gloria's office. So given that the legislature has adjourned, the governor has already signed vetoed legislation. I don't have too many bill reports, but I know that most planning groups have been following housing legislation. And so Assemblymember Gonzalez's bill on the density bonus that exists in San Diego to be encouraged statewide was signed into law by the governor, as well as Assemblymember Wick's bill on the missing middle homes. I wanted to point out the city did use state funding to purchase 2 hotel sites to help transfer some of the homeless currently who are in the convention center over to permanent housing. And this was just announced about 2 days ago. And they're looking to purchase an additional site. So even though, we are in a state deficit, we do have some COVID funding to kind of help with the crisis that we're facing. California's positivity rate in terms of COVID is currently at 2.7%. So what that means is out of all the tests that are administered, 2.7% are positive. The County of San Diego's positivity rate is 3%. But the issue that we're facing within the county is San Diego State's rates. Their positivity rate has put us up to 6.8%. And so that's 0.2% from being at 7%. Once we're at 7% positivity rate, we would fall under tier 1, which means we go back to allow a lot of outdoor operations. Right now we're at tier 2, so we want to go down to tier 3, not up to tier 1. So the county has advised a lot of what they've been seeing is people will wait to get a COVID test until about 3 days of having symptoms. Testing sites have expanded. I know the closest one to the Peninsula is at the University of San Diego. A lot of CVS are also having their COVID tests, but they're recommending as soon as you have any symptoms to go ahead and take a test so that you can quarantine and stay at home. So that's my update for the evening. Thank you for your time. As always, if there's any state questions, feel free to answer them here or via email. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. I don't see any questions. Robert, did you want to give us an update on the PLA and if the Point Loma Association has any issues that we should share with the community? You're on mute, Robert, if you were talking.
They're just finishing up doing their online shout outs for businesses and individuals. And then I think they're going to do a kind of a round robin as far as maybe some donations. And that was the update I received a few days ago. I'll probably know more after tomorrow. for anything further down the road.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to our project review applicant initiated action items. So keep this moving along. But Mark, you've done a great job. So let's go to number one, the San Gregorio project, and you go ahead and explain that to people.
Well, good evening, everybody. And first of all, thanks everybody for the clap and shout outs. Appreciate all that. We all know that a community planning group wouldn't work unless everybody volunteered their time and served on subcommittees. And I think we're getting great participation this year and look forward to doing it, you know, as long as we can. We'll just jump into our projects here. Hello, again, my name is Mark Krenzik. I'm project review chair. Our first project today, or this evening, is the San Gregorio CDP, a coastal development permit for 535 and 555 San Gregorio. This is down in La Playa. This is as simple as lot line adjustments. It's a process two. It's really as simple as two existing houses on 3 parcels existing, and to take the 3 parcels and make 2 equal parcels with the 2 existing houses. So there is no new construction. There is no site work done. It's really a legal description being recorded onto these 2 properties. The overall property that exists is about 40,000 square feet, all 3 parcels. It'll end up being 2 parcels of about 20,000 square feet each, with 2 4,000 square foot existing houses. So from a planning group, we looked at, well, is it in compliance with what we would expect in La Playa area? So the lots there are 10,000 square feet. These are 20,000 square foot lots. Does it apply? Does the FAR, does the setbacks, does the access to the properties are impacted at all by this coastal development permit or this lot line adjustment? And what we determined through our review at project review was no. There was no impacts that we could see that would, prevent this from, from this application of moving the lot line to create these 2 individual lots. The property is owned by 1 property owner, so he does own the full 40,000 square foot lot and the 2 homes on the property. I have Tony Christensen here this evening with us. That Tony can answer any questions. I could put a plan up if we wanted to see that, if anybody wanted to look at that. So why don't I just turn it over to Tony and ask Tony if he has.
Before we do that, Mark, can you was there a vote on project review on this project?
Yes, yeah, we took no exception to it. We did vote for it 4-0 in favor of approving the lot line adjustment. Tony?
Mark, do you have a photograph of the residence or the property?
I have just an overall site plan that's very complex to understand, Robert. I could put it up right now if everybody wanted to see it. Oh, the host is disabled participant screen sharing, so I can't show it, Robert.
Okay. I was just trying to just get my bearings with it.
It's south of San Gregorio, between McCall and it's where Owen Street used to go through, but it's a paper street at that point.
Okay, so kind of up right before you get to the cul-de-sac.
Yes. Yeah.
You're good to share it, Mark. It says you can share it.
Robert?
Yeah.
It's the Burnham house and the house to the north.
I see. Okay, that helps. Yeah, I know which one. Okay. Okay, never mind then. Thank you. Thanks, Brad.
Anybody have any questions at all from anybody?
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, if that's the case. Corla, do you have anything?
No, I just came on to say that we looked at this over real closely, and that map is really confusing, and we asked a lot of questions and got really into it and voted to approve it. It's just a simple lot line adjustment, and we
I'll
think
second
it's
the
okay.
motion.
I'll make the motion, and then Margaret, do you want to second that?
Yes, I was part of that meeting, and you guys went through it with a comb. So the consensus was an okay project to approve.
Any further discussion? All right, let's call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Margaret, Don, Mandy, Mark, Lucky, Corla, Sarah, Robert, Brad. So I'd say that's unanimous. Okay, Mark, you get to send in the form to Sarah then.
That's good.
Thank
All
you.
right, we'll go to the second project then, please. Alan, companion.
You know, at some point, we may want to adopt a policy where we have these on a consent calendar. I think we talked about it a few years ago, but some of these projects are fairly straightforward, fairly simple, such as this next one. This is the Allen Companion Unit, CDP. This project's located at 670 Gage Drive. It's a coastal development permit to convert 695 square feet of an existing house into a companion unit. So this is an attached part of someone's house that they want to then split by filling in a door and then having this almost 700 square foot companion unit. So it's a single story house. It has three parking spaces associated with the house, the existing house. So it meets those requirements. There's no addition exterior. There's no adding on of square footage. It's basically just closing in a door within the house. And it is an attached companion unit that meets the criteria that we've looked at in the past for companion units. I do have, I may have Larry here. If he's not, there's not much to be said about this one as well. And I do have screen sharing, so I could pop it up if anybody wants to take a quick look.
Did you have a vote on this one?
Yes, and we did vote, and we were pretty much unanimously 4-0 in favor of this as well. This is real quick for everybody. This is the floor plan of the house with down being Gage Street, with the front of the house where the garage and the front door is, and the companion unit's just on the right-hand side in the back. That's 700 square feet. So you can get a bedroom, a nice living room, pair of doors, you know, bathroom, closet. And the applicant indicated that the owner was going to use it for family. So.
Yeah, I'll interject real quick. They have 3 generations living there, and they apparently want to separate the grandparents. So, and they have plenty of parking.
I want to separate the grandkids.
You should all do that. The college kids will never leave. So there was very little other discussion than just looking at it from a technical standpoint.
Yeah. All right. Do we have a motion on this one, Mark?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I got a motion by Margaret. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That was Corla.
Sarah.
Oh,
Sarah was the second.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, I can't, with the screen share, I can't really see, but are there any other questions on this project? I don't see any other questions. Corla, did you have a question?
I'm voting.
Oh, you're just voting. Okay, well, let's, all those in favor? I got Margaret, Don, Mandy, Mark, Corla, Lucky, Sarah, Robert, Brad, unanimous. Perfect. All right, you got one more, Mark.
Yep, we've got one more. This is actually new construction, so this is something that we will see in the future if we go ahead and approve it. This is the Quinn Companion Unit. This is the coastal development permit located at 4462 Santa Monica Avenue. It's to construct a new 2-story detached companion unit over a garage. So this is 950 square feet over 950 square feet, 2 stories, access off the alley. 3 cars are associated with this companion unit. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath companion unit. So you get a little bit more with 950 square feet. And it does have all the parking. We looked at it, probably scrutinized over it harder than we probably should have in this case, but when there's less to look at, you kind of look harder. So we got down to, first of all, saying it was okay because it really accessed the unit off the alley, which we encourage in our neighborhood. There was already 2 existing parking spaces for the existing house, which also sits on the property, and there's no work to be done with it. So the property now has 5 parking spaces for the house and the 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We looked at the architecture a little bit, and it's got the architecture that matches the house. It's got a pitched roof, so we were all okay with that. We had one elevation that we thought we could probably do a little bit better with, but that was really splitting hairs in that case, in my mind. We voted for it 4-0, and I do have the applicant here, Alex Ray, if he wants to say anything, or Tim. Tim's here as well, and I can put up a quick picture of it for everybody. Alex, why don't you add something to this, Alex, if you've got it?
Oh, hi guys, Alex Ray here. Just wanted to say hi, touch base with you guys, answer any questions you guys may have.
I'll interject real quick with, Mark mentioned it has plenty of parking. We were okay with that. The height is 24 feet, 10 inches. I believe I had that right. The FAR was listed on the applicant's paperwork incorrectly. The FAR is actually 0.57. And the home in front was 1,800 square feet with a small garage in the front.
And I've since corrected that.
Honestly, thank you, Sarah, Corla, because I mean, obviously the height limit's an important issue for us. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I could show you there. See, you can see it's 2 stories, so it's not very tall.
Do we have a motion, Mark?
Yeah, again, this does fit into what we've been in the past of approving as a companion units. It's not 3 stories, it is 2 stories. It does provide parking, and we all know that the city just recently passed an ordinance that's going to alleviate even the parking requirements for some of these ADUs, which we'll have to talk about as a community group to see how we feel about that. But this one does provide a lot of additional parking and provides the space. And as Barbara had indicated, it does have a restriction of 30-day minimum rental that the owner will have to sign if he wants to use it, for somebody outside the family. Yeah, if that's the case, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the Twin Companion Unit Project CDP.
All right, I have a motion by Mark. We have a second.
I'll second.
Don, I do have a question. Was there any opposition from neighbors?
No, Don. We did not have any opposition from the neighbors. I had not received any emails from any of the neighbors that had any questions about it over the last couple of months that it's been around.
Okay, and with the screen share, I can't see, but are there other questions? Again, I don't see any, so I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the project? I got Margaret, Don, Mandy, Mark, Corla, Lucky, Sarah, Robert, Brad. Okay, unanimous. Well, and thank you. So again, Mark, I think, I'm glad that these were straightforward projects, but it's important for us to get them through the system, right? For the people that are doing these, it's just important. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. These do fall within our preview because they are a process to a greater discretionary review. So we do those. And we do have a list of about 5 of these that are these small projects that we'll be looking at these through the rest of the year and probably into next year. We still have one large project that maybe we'll get to here this fall for multifamily, but everything else is really relatively small like these projects. Thanks.
Good. All right, I'm going to move to the informational items, and in particular, I wanted to start with the Kate Session trees. It seems like a very worthwhile project, and Ann Fag reached out to us and wanted to make a short presentation. So, Ann, if you're here, this would be the time you get to do your presentation. There's Ann, and so Ann, we would welcome your presentation. I'd like to hear it.
All right, you know what? The first thing I'm going to do is just make sure that you have my contact information so I don't forget. And also, I have handouts, like 4 per page, that you can easily, so you don't have to take notes. Okay. All right, let's share the screen. All right, well, you can, whoa, that was not the beginning here. So would you confirm that you can see the first screen on a title slide?
I can see it. I can see it. Perfect.
All right. Okay, we're going to talk about healthy trees for healthy neighborhoods. There's just so many opportunities, and I'm only going to touch the surface and give you some ways to get involved in other ways. Maybe covering some topics that some of you know or many of you know, but I want to make sure that we have the whole context. Our climate is changing, and it is related to our temperatures in the city. We're often 5 to 10 degrees hotter than natural areas because the buildings and pavements absorb more heat, and you can see that on the left. And they also, the heat that's held during the day then radiates during the night and keeps us hot. But trees and other urban greening cool our neighborhoods by reflecting more heat, shading pavement, and then they're cooling because they're transpiring water vapor that then cools the air around them. And that's why it's so magic to be in a park or in a forested area on a hot day. So we generally talk about tying climate to urban heat, to health, and then we talk about cooling and shade. And so just real roughly, the heat related to health is that extreme or extended heat is experienced as heat exhaustion and heat stroke, but basically it's usually not reported that way. It's usually reported as the stress on some other pre-existing condition like cardio or COPD or diabetes. And so you get an increase in events or mortality at a heat event in those risky populations, which is many of us at some point. So we know that there's ways to limit the responses, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that whether or not people have access to what many of us probably I don't live in Peninsula, I live in PQ, but many of us have some of these access. It may surprise you that heat extremes actually kill more people than wildfire and storms because it hits so many more people. All right, you guys have a lot of trees and appreciate trees, but just to remind folks about shading buildings and reducing energy costs. Trees fostering more healthy neighborhoods. We're more likely to be active if we have parks and walkable streets, backyard and residential shade, and business districts that we like to walk in. So really important these days, especially as the issues became daylighted nationally, but we've had them here in a long time. We actually had redlining in San Diego in the 30s. And I didn't show the map of that, but we can at another point. KPBS did a nice article about 2 years ago on it. But the effect then and now in further development is that we do have housing risk factors in some neighborhoods. A lot of pavement, a lot of on the right, you see often if you have small developments or small lots that people will then, and multiple people living in a unit will actually create more parking right on their property and put so much more pavement up. Other inequities are that people have housing burden, paying more than 50% of their household income is shown in percent households in the map on the left. That comes from, those are census tracts, and it comes from a CalEnviroScreen mapping program that I'd be glad to share with folks. But by census tract, the darker the color, the more households have more than 50% of their income on housing. Other inequities are access to parks and then unaffordable or no air conditioning. We also have created health climate inequities. So whether or not you have health care and insurance will affect how you are prepared for or vulnerable to heat events. I just talked about the pre-existing and chronic conditions. On the left is a map of asthma percentile. So that is number of hospital emergency room visits in that census tract per year relative to the rest of the state. So a higher number means you making more asthma visits than people in other places. And you can find yourself, Peninsula, on this map relative to a lot of other locations. Other inequities relating to health are whether or not you live near traffic. And, you know, you can, I always love these maps because you can see the 5 and the 15 and the age, and and how much exposure people have that live near there. Many times that's where your schools or apartments are, right along freeways. So definitely exposure, which would change your overall health. So given that we're having climate change and we're given that we know that we're not all prepared, what do we do now? And the city can and should use climate equity maps to set priorities. And those are basically from these census tracts, but they're also from a few other factors. And those of you, there is a series of climate forum listening sessions. I think they've already had 2 or 3 of them, and there's 6 of them left. I put them on my calendar. I can look for it and put it in the chat, but you should attend one of those. They're all by Zoom. Doesn't matter whether you attend one in your own district, but to keep up on what's happening and what the city wants to change in the next round of climate action planning. All right, what else would we do? Plant trees. A lot of neighborhoods don't have parkways, and yet the city has done mostly parkway planting. So I think they're beginning to change that to be more open to that. You still have to put them in the street right away within 10 feet of your curb. Remove pavement for tree planting sites. A lot of your business districts concreted in, and there's nowhere to put the tree. And so things that we would have to do that in some places. Target employment programs to watering trees. I just gave a presentation to the Promise Zone, which is an economic development area south of the 94, inviting them to pull together some watering programs so that they can accept the free street trees. We're beginning to get some donations for people that are going to buy their own private tree. I'll talk about that in a second, but would also buy a tree for somebody in an unemployed backyard. I also think we've got to be listening to youth. They really get it. They get that we haven't, that we're not leading out, but we've led into this issue, and they're amazing. And then we invite you to join Kate Sessions' commitment. So roughly, what does it take? So I'm going to give a couple more practical slides. What does it take to grow healthy trees? As you all know, in Peninsula, really important to invest in maintaining what we have and protecting those mature trees. In some cases, we've got trees that are at the end of their life, or they were planted in too small a space. Torrey pines were just never meant to be in a 4-foot parkway. And so we wouldn't plant them today, but we're living with the ones that were planted 60 and 70 years ago. As we support communities, we can help with that critical path. How do you decide you want a tree, where to plant it, what species, how to get it, and how to plant and grow a healthy tree. So where can you plant a tree? Front and backyards, street easements. If you plant a tree in your street easement, you actually have to have the city's permission because it's actually the city's tree and the city's property. It's not hard to get. We can help people with that. You want to make sure it's away from street signs and intersections. Homeowners Association, I don't think you have much in Peninsula, but it's a really good way because once they're planted, they generally have a landscaping contract that can do the planting and or watering and pruning. You want to make sure that you match the tree with available space, both above ground and below ground. You always dig a tree before you plant anything. How can you get a tree? Maybe that's what you're mostly interested in. The city still has a free street tree program. In fact, the funding went from $100,000 to $400,000 this year. And so it would be something that you can request. You have to commit to a watering agreement and you have to wait because they have a long line. You can assemble and submit a block request. I actually use this slide in something else. Other cities have different arrangements, but this is basically what it is for San Diego. And then in some areas, they have actually planting trees funded by California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection grants, and they generally come with a watering. But yeah, just a little advertisement for how cool are your trees, that the temperatures under trees are, you generally get around 60 degrees, 60 to 80 degrees, and a pavement might be 80 to 100, and the worst is an artificial turf, which can easily go to 140. We're working with a retail and a wholesale nursery to get what we call My Yard trees, and they're in 5-gallon containers. You can purchase them We're in the process of getting the website up so you can purchase or order them now. Pick them up from Walter Anderson in probably December or January, and then also accepting homes for trees that someone else might pay for, and people that couldn't afford a tree would be planting it. Really important in that areas, you need to water trees that don't have irrigation. If you're living right outside your house, you can just water it. But in a business district, you might not be able to do that. And many people now are using watering bags to deliver that. So how do I say I'm ready? How do I say yes? We're going to invite you to join Kate Sessions' commitment and learn more about tree care and planting. And we have a website. We have some videos on there. We've got presentations linked together so that you could do an hour on Get and Grow a Tree or an hour on the climate action. And then we're actually putting together a group called Kate's Trees Team. So if you wanted to be the advocate for Peninsula planning group, or planning whatever, or you wanted to do it for your Rotary Club, or you wanted to do it for your church, that we will help support people in what we would call a coaching. So what is Kate Sessions' commitment? Kate Sessions planted 100 trees each year in Balboa Park in exchange for using the city land. And so we've come up with, we started working with Healthy Trees for Healthy Neighborhoods, and that's still the best words for this. But we're also making a challenge that we can also plant 100 trees each year in every neighborhood eventually. As I said, I guess I've doubled on this one, getting education about it on your website. We actually do have a library of presentations, and sometimes we'll combine them. So you might have tree selection, planting, and watering together. But those were available to give additional. This is a very, very short one tonight. And then I just wanted to end with, if you had any questions, and an encouragement for all of us to promote, educate about, and celebrate trees. And then organize your neighborhoods, a block of trees, come in with a request to the city for 10 trees on a block. You are going to get priority over one at a time. And we can help you put those together and what that form is. So that's what I'm inviting, and we'll continue. It's really, we do know that it makes a difference in our city in terms of our cooling and our active living. And I would encourage us to see what you all would maybe want to do. There's some support for it.
All right, Ann, thank you. That was a great presentation, and it's a really important project. I really like having you. I bet there's gonna be some questions. I'm just gonna make my own editorial comments since I get to go first. But I know that my son's room was super hot. It gets a lot of direct sun. We planted a beautiful tree there. It shades his room. And I water that tree every week, and his room is significantly cooler. So as a tree. So anyway, it's a great project, and I think people really liked it. But if people have questions, just raise your hands, and we'll be happy to make some comments. Go ahead, Mandy.
Hi, Ann. How are you?
Hi.
I've been a part of this this group. I've kind of fallen off the last few months just with everything going on in the community. But I highly recommend everyone endorse or promote this with your neighbors. This is such an opportunity for our communities to improve the quality of the air, calming our streets. Those are one of the benefits of trees and the tree canopy. Yep. So I highly encourage you to get involved with this group and promote this within the Peninsula. It's a great thing. Thank you, Ann, for being here.
All right, maybe we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Same
bright
time.
and early.
I'll get the note out tonight still. Yeah.
I have one question though, but for Robert. But I know that the Point Loma Association does a great job as far as planning and watering and taking care of lots of areas. So I guess, Robert, I don't know if you have any thoughts, but I mean, it seems like the Point Loma Association would be well situated to get trees, plant them, and actually water them to make sure that they stay alive. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the problem is, you plant the trees, but then you have to make sure that they get water, especially if there isn't any irrigation source. And so I would definitely, and I would encourage you to maybe talk, if maybe talk to Cecilia on beautification. They used to go through the urban forestry, and they had a few connections where they can get, you know, free trees.
Right.
But I mean, but this could be definitely an added bonus for them, or it's definitely worth bouncing it off of them.
Well, I would encourage you all to take the lead. It's your community. Our Kate sessions can't be in 100 communities. The question is, if you want to have a cooler, greener community, we'll help you with the resources. We're not going to come in and persuade you that you want to do that. That has to be yours. And then the other thing is, I know that Ocean Beach put in some trees, and then they paid somebody to water them that had a bicycle and a hose, and just went and got connected the hose to, you know, every 10th, whatever, and got a tank filled and whatever. I think that is a perfect either unemployed or youth or whatever job. Don't expect volunteers to water trees, please don't. But find a way that somebody would benefit from a job that every week they water 100 trees, and then the next week they maybe, or on Tuesday they water in this neighborhood, and on Wednesday they might water in this neighborhood. What you can get for whatever, 12, 15, 20 bucks an hour for youth or whatever. So think of it that way. Think of it as an investment. And it is not about planting trees. We do not say plant a tree. We say grow a tree, because we do have to take care of them. But there's ways to do that.
They do have staff that takes care of some of the, you know, with the water truck.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's definitely possible. So, okay, well, what I'll do is I will coordinate with them, and then we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
How's that? Does that sound better?
And
Okay.
Dan, I'd like to volunteer. I'm a member of the PLA as well. I would be willing to present on behalf of the Kate Sessions commitment, because I am aware of the, you know, and very familiar with the slides as well. So if you need support in that area, I would be willing to volunteer.
You know, we might call you a member of the Kate's Tree team before long.
Yeah.
We'll sign you up. Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right. Well, Ann, thank you. If anybody else.
Sorry, Fred. I think I hit the wrong button, but it looks like Rosa Maria had a question.
Rosa Maria, do you have a question?
I'll make it really short.
Okay.
Hi, Ann. Ann's amazing. It's ironic that we circle back and see each other here.
Yeah.
We were actually on the same National Outdoor Leadership Executive team in the wilderness, so we go way back. In any event, somebody noted that the trees would really benefit the area by Midway and the Famosa Park area. So I think I'll circle back and talk to you more about that. I know trees happen to be a hot topic on the peninsula because of views. I love trees. I don't have a problem seeing the trees, but I think where they would really benefit are the areas that I think Tina mentioned, or someone mentioned on the chat.
Well, send me an email.
I will.
All right, super.
It's good
to
to
see
see
you again. Wow, that was in the Wind River in Wyoming. Awesome, with llamas.
Craziness. Climate change is real. Thank you
Yeah,
for all you're doing.
Thank you. We got to do it together.
Yeah, more trees the better. We're all in favor of it. Do we have anybody else want to make a comment?
So I'll challenge you, Mandy, to get 100 trees planted in Peninsula backyards.
Hey, it's on. It's
You
on.
picked the right person to challenge.
Okay.
I'll be looking for an A-team van so we can get started and roll up on the neighbors. Thank you, Ann, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. All right. Well, that's perfect. All right. Well, we're going to move to, speaking of trees, we're going to move to the board action items. We're going to start with, I think the first one is Sunset Cliffs Park. And I went through a walk through Sunset Cliffs Park recently, and I saw that it looks like they planted some little torrey pine trees there that are well spaced out and probably in the appropriate habitat. But that's not what this is about, but I did like seeing that. So Mandy, I will turn this as a traffic issue, and so it's your turn.
All right. I know we've talked a little bit. I want to bounce back actually to the information item regarding Midway that we moved earlier to an informational item. So again, I want to thank everyone for participating in Tuesday night's traffic and transportation meeting. There were over 30 participants throughout that meeting. We had a really great discussion in reference to Measure E. The guest speakers included Kathy Kenton from the Midway Community Planning Board. She's the chair. Josh Coyne was there as a representative for Councilmember Campbell. And then Musca Lake was there to represent Naval Base Point Loma, the liaison for the Navwar site. And then we also had Scott Andrews, who was with the organization called Save Our Access, who was there to counter those who were in favor of that. And so it was a great discussion just addressing community concerns with respect to Measure E and the potential traffic impacts to our community. So some of the main themes included the need for more dense housing and the need to build greater than 30 feet. The DIF fees that would be generated by the proposed project, as well as proposals for the Navwar site, and the impacts to the Midway development and our community, and the concerns that we have just regarding impacts to additional traffic and stretches to the infrastructure from this proposed development. So again, it was a really informative meeting. Josh Coyne had shared a portion. You can locate it on the PCPB website as a meeting item. It was a presentation regarding the DIF fees and how that will help improve the local community from those DIF fees through the community plan. So I encourage everyone, please educate yourself on all the measures and all the propositions here that we have on our ballot this fall, and make sure that you vote accordingly. So again, the link to the discussion, I'll be sure to email Paul the meeting link so that you can view the meeting if you're got nothing else to do. I'll be sure to forward that to Paul this evening or tomorrow morning for sure. So that's all I have. Did anyone else, are there any questions?
Thank you, Mandy.
Yes, I'm sorry. I have a question. I apologize. May I speak?
Sure, go ahead, Corla.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I took a minute to unmute. I just want to let you know I've been out of contact, wasn't able to do it, but we have a draft, a letter, not on the our traffic and transportation. It's in the archives, dated of spring of 2018, and it was the PCPB response to the draft EIR for Midway Development. And there's a lot of really good traffic information in there that I think you might want to look back at and read. And I'm sorry for the late notice on that, but that'll help you guys, I think.
Okay. And there
Thank
comments
you
from
for that
Mandy
information.
Yeah. I think we're clean here, Mandy. Why don't you, can we turn to Sunset Cliffs?
Sure, let's go ahead and move forward with that. All right. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and screen share. I'm gonna show some pictures here first with regard to the parties that are being experienced. Some of the photos I've received from some of the Sunset Cliff Natural Park Council members. Now, and before I get started, I do just want to let you know, I really appreciate your participation in tonight's meeting. And just full disclosure, I am also a voting member of the Sunset Cliffs Natural Park Council. So with transparency and no conflict, I'd like to possibly maybe recuse if there is a motion later on the floor, just to make sure that we're delineating my role as far as presenting tonight. So here's some of the pictures that we have here. The Sunset Cliffs community has been dealing with some significant issues with visitors to the Sunset Cliffs Natural Park. Here are some of examples of just some of the things they're facing. As you can see, we've got people, this is Garbage Beach, and they've assembled here. These are recent pictures. There's a lot of partying going on. A lot of trash and issues with trash removal, lots of alcohol and drug use that are being witnessed, and evidence or contraband being seen or having to be picked up afterwards. There's a lot of graffiti. And so I just wanted to share with the group some of these issues. And here's a party that's at night. It is a state park, or sorry, a city park, and at night it closes. And what happens is the darkness of the night tends to bring a cover for people who are not being respectful of the park. And we've had parties and raves that have been going on in the park after hours and in the darkness. And due to the danger of trying to get down the cliffs in the evening with lack of visibility, the park ranger or police have not been able to access the beach because, you know, there's a safety issue there for them. So, oh, here's just some pictures of people overnight camping. There's a campfire and a hammock in this picture. Oh, and then again, lots of graffiti, and the benches tend to be a hot spot as well as the call signs or the call box sign. The signs in the park have been vandalized several times, and it seems to be a continual issue that needs to be addressed. So back in September, the Sunset Cliffs Natural Park Council, they wrote a letter to the city and approved several different motions regarding areas of concern within the park. And I posted this on the website, and I've also provided it to all the board members to review prior. And just kind of going forward here, you see a list of bulleted items that they're asking from the city. So I have here the letter from Sunset Cliffs Natural Park Council that they have approved and sent on to the city. And then here at our Parks and Recreation Subcommittee meeting this past October 1st, the subcommittee unanimously approved a letter of support to the city. And we enclosed the letter that had been approved by the Sunset Cliffs Natural Park Council as an enclosure, as well as the supporting pictures that have been received by neighbors and park members in that area.
Can you put that? Can you put that letter up, Mandy? Because it's a different one than one you're showing right now.
Oh, excuse me. I apologize. Wrong letter.
Yeah.
I'll have to apologize. I posted the wrong letter. I'll have to undo my screen share and add it. I apologize.
Okay, that's all right.
It is located on the PCPB website. So I'll have my tech support, i.e. my husband, help me.
Okay.
But that is not the letter.
Board members have seen the
No,
letters you sent.
That's the Sunset
Thanks,
Cliffs.
Mandy.
Yeah, we've seen the letter. We've seen the letter, and it seems to track the letter by Sunset Cliffs Park.
Yeah, I apologize. For whatever reason, I uploaded the wrong letter, but I will read it out loud. Basically, the Peninsula Community Planning Board is in support of the Sunset Cliffs Natural Park Council letter regarding park policies and enforcement. An increase in law and lifeguard enforcement throughout Sunset Cliffs Natural Park, including at pocket beaches, canyons, and caves. Establish a curfew for the hillside section of Sunset Cliffs Natural Park from 1 hour after sunset to 1 hour before sunrise. Ask the city to research the need for additional porta potties at Sunset Cliffs Natural Park. Due to the increased activity at Sunset Cliffs Natural Park, increase in calls for emergency services, including cliff rescues, loud parties with alcohol and drug use, loud music and yelling, and the trash including feces and broken bottles that are left behind, recommend that street parking on the west side of Sunset Cliffs Boulevard and the parking lots in the linear section of Sunset Cliffs Natural Park be closed from 2 hours after sunset until 1 hour before sunrise. Included in this closure would be any pocket beach accessible via the linear park. And then when the lower parking lot in the hillside section of the park is reopened, move portable restrooms to their former location. Signs should be posted to direct park users to the portable restrooms. The former location was the flat area at the existing southeast corner of the lower parking lot. This is temporary until such time as the new lower parking lot plan is approved and implemented. Thank you for your support and time and consideration on this matter. End of the letter. And like I said, there's a common pattern. If any of you have been in any of these citywide meetings, it just seems in the last 6 months, even before that, there's a lack of enforcement, and it's impacting our community parks. And you know, we're trying to preserve the park and protect it from global warming, cliff erosion, and this compounded issue with people destroying and not being respectful to the park has caused concern and is a major issue to our community. So I'd like to open it up at this point.
Mandy, if you can take it off the screen share, then I can see the people that want to comment. But and while you're doing that, I'm just going to make a editorial comment as the person that walks along Sunset Cliffs and in the park all the time. I mean, it's obviously a precious, precious natural resource for Point Loma and really for beyond us. But the pictures of the things you showed, you know, I've seen that on numerous occasions. So I think it's all very true, and it's a natural resource that needs to be protected. So thank you for your work in that area. So if people have questions for Mandy, or Mandy, you can make a motion on your letter. We can move forward. Go ahead, Sarah.
I just want to say I couldn't agree more with what that letter said, because I live here at the Cliffs, and I mean, it's always been kind of frustrating, the partiers coming in, but like since COVID, it is so grotesquely out of control, so disrespectful, so unbelievable. Has nothing to do with people coming here to enjoy the Cliffs during the day. It's people partying here at night, using the streets and alleyways as toilets, you know, throwing drugs, throwing dirty condoms on the ground. I mean, it's just foul. And like, as a parent, and anyone, not even just as a parent, but as a homeowner, you pay a lot of money to own or rent here. And it's just like the level of disrespect and lack of law enforcement is like, honestly, I wouldn't have even ever moved here if I thought that I would have to deal with the things that I see. I wouldn't even go for a walk if it's on a weekend in the evening, because I know I've seen like 19-year-olds screaming, cursing, driving crazy, drinking. I mean, like literally where I can't even take my kids for a walk if you're close to the cliff. So anyway, I just want to say it's absolutely out of control to me what happens there in the evenings, especially on weekends. But so I just thank you for doing that, Mandy.
Well stated, Sarah. Yeah, and I don't think it's unreasonable to think that you should be able to take your kid for a walk along Sunset Cliffs at sunset.
Right, and you can't. If it's a hot weekend, you literally can't. Like, you just know. It's like, if it's warm and it's a Friday night, it's not going to even feel like safe in some ways, to be honest, or appropriate.
All right, do we have other comments? Robert?
Now, I mean, you know, obviously it's been getting worse, but, you know, this has been going on for many, many years. But didn't the city, you know, I know the San Diego Police Department stretched too thin, but didn't we get some fishing game or some additional lifeguard, or what the agency?
We do have 2 park rangers. Araceli, I think Gutierrez is the one park ranger throughout the day. And then there is a second park ranger that they alternate the shifts. I haven't quite gotten clear of where she is serving at certain times, because she is serving all the parks from here. Rosa, would that be to La Jolla or Torrey Pines? Is she the park ranger? So she is the park ranger for Sunset Cliffs. She also helps the OB Pier and the park there, and around Dog Beach. She was the one who will also be manning the new bird estuary that got approved. And then there's also the parks all along La Jolla, Torrey Pines. So that's quite a bit of a workload.
Yeah, she needs a lot of help.
I'd like to add,
public comment on
to
this?
that.
Go ahead,
Don, do you want to make a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mandy, so much for bringing this to the attention. I wanted to add, you're right, Robert, these, and also Sarah, these issues have been going on way too long. And of course, COVID took things out of control. And it's just not Sunset Cliffs. I mean, we're all here as in a peninsula working together for the common goal. The issues that we have here, of course, on Ocean Beach, Liberty Station, Midway, all over. But without police enforcement, I think we just keep going in a circle. So I think the question is going to be, moving forward, what can we do together as community members and voice to the city? I mean, we need coverage, we need help, and it's just out of control.
Don, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Sarah hit the nail on the head. It's the key here is enforcement. And unfortunately, Councilmember Campbell's office is now on its third community rep in what, 2 years? She's so new that she had to beg off on a question. I would encourage her, if she's still listening, and Josh Coyne, to get her to the Sunset Cliffs Natural Park Council and familiarize herself with that issue so that she can lobby on behalf of the park. The Sunset Cliffs Natural Park Council meets on the first Monday of the month. It meets at 6:45 p.m. on the first Monday. It meets on the Cabrillo Rec Center multipurpose room on Canyon Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. I saw a Dave with a public comment. I don't know if you would want to comment, Dave.
Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Thanks for the opportunity to engage and appreciate all the work that you guys do on a regular basis. It's having been in public service before, I know it's a grind, and I appreciate everything you guys do. I just wanted to respond to, and I'm sorry I didn't catch the name of the woman who was speaking before, but just very briefly on the lack of police resources here. It's just, I'll say what probably a lot of you have heard before. I won't go into detail, but the bottom line is, like, we're pretty much on our own. Having spoken with many police officers directly in and around the cliffs here where I live, over the course of the summer, and granted we had COVID, we had bioluminescence, we had additional reasons other than just the sunset, which is challenging enough for people coming out here, but their rules of engagement are extremely limited. There's very little they can do, even when there's obvious examples of drinking and drug use, and they respond to things after the fact. And so I don't mean to be a wet blanket here, and I'm on this call to talk about the traffic control thing, which I hope we can get to here in a minute, but there's not a lot that's going to happen, not a lot's going to change, and I don't think Jennifer Campbell's not doing anything about it. I'm not sure the next person will be able to do much about it, absent a much more aggressive allocation of resources. And it's unfortunate, but this is where we are. And I don't endorse it, but I understand why there's this activity in Ocean Beach to try to become a citizens patrol kind of thing. And it's kind of endemic of where we are as a society at this point. But I'm frustrated. If I sound frustrated, it's because I am, like probably a lot of you are. And it's because I've participated in a lot of these discussions with various council members and their staffs for extended periods of time. And we're not going to get the help that we need. We're basically on our own out here. And so there's no real question or comment or positive feedback. It's just a statement. So.
Well, thank you, Dave. Correct. You're not the only frustrated person.
Oh, I know. I'm not special. But I'm speaking for, I know you guys have heard this before, and I'm speaking for a great many neighbors, some of which I think are lurking on this call, and others are just given up, basically, so anyway, I don't want to belabor this any further. It's been a long night, and I would like to get to the issue of traffic calming, which I think is on the agenda. And if it's not, I will make a motion that it soon be, and I'm happy to speak to that when it's my turn.
All right. Well, to try to move things forward, Mandy, do you want to make a motion on your letter, and then we can have further discussion?
Well, I wanted to ask someone else to make the motion, just because I wanted to recuse myself, just for the optics and fairness.
Mandy.
Okay.
Wait,
Margaret
before you
made a
do
motion
that,
to
Delana wanted to say something.
Oh, hi, Delana.
And Larry wanted to say something.
Well, okay, so hold on. We're going to have more public comment. I'm just trying to focus the discussion. So we're
I'll
going
second the motion.
So we're going to make a motion, and let's just go in order here, and then we'll have further comments. So, Margaret, did you make the motion, or did you second?
No, I think it was Sarah, and then I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion from Sarah, which is seconded by Margaret to approve the letter to on the Sunset Cliffs issue, proposed by Mandy. And Mandy, I just had one question. You said it was passed unanimously by the traffic committee. How many people were there?
Sorry, it was passed by the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee, and there were three. So three committee members were there.
Okay.
That's all I have there. So.
Okay, so we're gonna take this in order then. Is there any other comment by any board members? Okay, so I think that there are some public members that want to make comments. So I saw Larry wanted to make a comment. And so Larry, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, just quickly. I live near Dave, who just spoke, and literally after dark, you can't go down to the cliffs if you're local. We used to walk our dog down there, and we just can't go down there anymore for two reasons. One is all of the drugs and everything else going on, and then the car racing. They literally race around blocks, and
Larry, we're losing your feed. I don't know if there's something wrong with your
breaking up there, Larry.
Larry, we're losing you. This is important stuff. So if you can check your computer and make sure that we can hear you, that'd be great.
All right, we're going to move on. Scott, I saw Scott do you want to make a comment, Scott?
When I speak again, I'm going to address what Larry was starting to talk about. So.
Okay, I'll make it short. First, I do want to thank you all for doing everything you do. It's sometimes a thankless job. I just came in from shooing 5 kids off of Monaco and Sunset Cliffs from starting to smoke their bongs and drink their beers. I listen, and I know this letter is in regards to the parks, but when you talk about parking and you say only on the west side of Sunset Cliffs Boulevard, it just pushes everything up into the neighborhoods. So I'm concerned that sure, you can stop parking, but it just pushes people up into the neighborhoods, up the side streets. Monaco is now listed on social media as a sex hookup site. And that's why we're cleaning up condoms on our street. I have added 8 floodlights on my house because I have to light up the street because I can't even get the street light fixed at my corner. Yes, Dave, I hear you clearly. We are on our own up here. I'm in touch with Captain McLean. I've been working with the traffic department, and all the traffic studies have denied us anything for the speeding. We can't get speed bumps. We can't get stop signs. We're on our own up here.
Yep.
So I just want to share that with you and close by thanking you all again for trying to help us out in our neighborhood.
So if I could just jump in on that and piggyback real quick, the point that I wanted to make, and I think this might have been raised in the meeting earlier this week, you can drive on Devonshire from Hill Street to Adair, that's probably almost maybe 3/4 of a mile, maybe almost a mile downhill. There is no impediment to your vehicle going that way. And under the best of circumstances in bright daylight, cars go very fast. And you go through 2 intersections that are poorly designed at best, and maybe back in the day could have handled the carrying capacity of the traffic at the time. But when you go through the 3-way intersection at Devonshire, Leon, and Froud, where people who live here can get confused and not know who's supposed to stop where, because it's not a full stop in that intersection. It's a 3-way for Devonshire. And then you get to Osprey, where there are yield signs on Osprey that are regularly violated by, again, people who live around here in the daytime, or people who are just driving through and aren't familiar with it. It's just, it's a miracle that we haven't lost anybody yet. But again, I'm not going to belabor the Sunset Cliffs has always been, always will, a place to come and enjoy a glass of wine or beer and watch the sunset. For various reasons that we're all familiar with, the carrying capacity has been overloaded at the cliffs, whether it's COVID or bioluminescence or whatever else. As Larry started to allude to before, every weekend and on a lot of weeknights, we hear cars revving and racing down Devonshire and up Devonshire. And again, there is no stoppage of that vehicle traffic on Devonshire. And like I said, back in the day when these areas were designed, maybe that worked okay, but things have changed, and the traffic capacity here, regardless of whatever the studies might have shown, and I hope they did show volume on those stretches of Devonshire where they were set, it really doesn't matter. We have people doing donuts on a regular basis in the intersections of Devonshire and Gazot, the three-way stretch at Leon and Froud, and at Osprey. And I have neighbors at both those intersections, and I watch it happen in broad daylight. And so I realize I'm preaching to the choir mostly here, but my point is, like, to the extent that there's an effect that public comment can have, I need this to be registered. I tried to elaborate on this in an email to Margaret earlier, which I hope will become part of the public record. But somebody's gonna get killed in that stretch, and we're super fortunate that it didn't happen yet. During COVID and bioluminescence when it was super crazy. It's dialed back a little bit now because society's opened up a little bit. There's places to go and drink and hang out legally, but it's not changing what my neighbor down the street just described at Monaco. And again, look, that's always happened out here to an extent, but not to the degree that it is now. And I'm not gonna say that nobody cares, woe is us. But the bottom line is the police don't have the resources. The officers you talk to are super frustrated. I've talked to at least two directly who are retiring because they're tired of dealing with it. They feel frustrated and they can't really implement their the oaths that they were sworn to uphold. So
all right, Dave, I appreciate your comments.
I'll stop. I'm done.
So Delana, you've had your hand up for a while. Do you want to go ahead?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm also on the Sunset Cliffs Committee. I helped write some of those ordinances. And I do agree that when we close things on one side, then it affects the rest of the park. The reason I want to become an active member of the Peninsula PCPB, whatever, is to help with the inside of it. That was written because we can only deal with the park. We cannot, as Sunset Cliffs Park Committee, cannot deal with the neighborhood. But the other thing, and I would encourage the woman who was from Ocean Beach earlier today commenting about those parking lots, what we need to do is also work with the city and put an ordinance forth that says any parking restrictions that go on in a park or a beach area or anything like that, that then extends for a quarter, a half, a mile, whatever is reasonable, away from that area so that the residents who live near these areas are not impacted adversely by closing lots. So, and again, I want to encourage and appreciate the people that are supporting this. Mandy and Margaret made it clear that sometimes their recommendation doesn't carry with the board, and that the more of us that speak up helps to encourage the board. It sounds like you guys are going to help us out, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Delana. I do want to come back to Dave really quick. I do want to let you know that this is not an ending issue, and we are having this as an action item every month, basically, to continue to look at Sunset Cliffs on a holistic level to find opportunities to provide relief to the neighborhood, increase the enforcement, and provide some inputs to the city regarding, stop signs, traffic calming measures, things of that sort. Some of the options that we're discussing as a possibility is a parking district in the area. And again, more information will be released as we proceed, if we choose to proceed in that direction. But I want to let you know that we're not done with Sunset Cliffs. And, we want to be here for the neighbors. And I do appreciate you showing up, because like Delana said, we had actually a letter that got approved by the traffic subcommittee last month, but it was unable to pass the main board. So I think sometimes having the neighbors here to lift up their voice and advocate for their issues in their neighborhood really resonate with the board and allow us to have a clear understanding of what's happening, because I think there's a false narrative with regards to Sunset Cliffs Park and the surrounding neighborhood in general. I think people think, oh, they're elite, they don't want people in the neighborhood. There's, the city's there handling issues, and that's just unfortunately not true. So again, feel free to reach out to me with any issues. Again, this is not going to be going away anytime soon. We understand there is an issue. There needs to be more enforcement. There needs to be more solutions to your community.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And you know, we understand the limitations on resources. And I'm not just being fatalistic. I say I don't expect resources for enforcement to be forthcoming just because I've had enough conversations about that. What I do want to say, and I've neglected to mention before, what's needed in those stretches of Devonshire is at least one and ideally more traffic calming circles, like they put it in Bird Rock a number of years ago to slow things down. They're large intersections, they're wide already, and in the case of the three-way one especially, there's plenty of space. That's what needs to happen. Stop signs aren't going to work. You know, additional speed bumps won't work. We need to have physical barriers that will force people to slow down and move calmly through these intersections. I'm speaking for probably 100 neighbors.
I do.
When I say that.
And I can tell you that I've talked to Mandy about these issues in depth, and she's definitely looking at this in a holistic approach.
I appreciate that very
this
much.
letter is more of a first step. But Margaret, I think you have a comment, and I want to make sure that Margaret gets her say in.
Thanks, Fred. And I just, again, want to reiterate what I reiterated off Delena's comment that I said at the last transportation meeting is we can't do this and bring things to the board because we are a subcommittee without the community. You know, it's really important that you share your traffic issues and safety concerns with your neighbors and have them attend these meetings. Our subcommittee just is a recommendation to the board. The board has the final approval. So when you actually sit here, all of you, and you tell us, I mean, that there are some serious issues that we need to vote on and send to the city, I mean, that's some serious business. And we are supposed to be the voices for all of you in the community. You voted us on this board, and I can assure you that this board will work hard together to get the letters that you need sent to the city. And these letters do help because they get put into the hands of the politicians that represent our districts. And it's just that step further to be your voice on this board. So continue to do what you're doing. Hopefully the letter gets passed before we vote here, and it doesn't stop there. You continue to advocate to get things done, and that starts with, you know, sending us your concerns on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, whatever, and we'll take care of the rest for you.
Thanks for all you do.
Okay, do we have any further comment, or are we ready to vote on the letter? All right, I think we are ready. And so with that, all those in favor of the Sunset Cliffs letter that's been proposed, raise your hand. Got Margaret, Don, Mark, Corla, Lucky, Sarah, Robert, and Brad. So I think that is 7. And I think we have 1 abstention. Are you abstaining, Mandy?
Yes, I would like to, just to delineate my role between the two organizations. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for all. I want to thank the group for all their hard work, and I want to thank the public for coming out. And I think we're going to continue to work on these issues. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the passing of this motion.
All right, Mandy. I guess you're still up though, so you're
all right. The next one we are at. Okay. The next one we're at is
Del Monte and Guzzo.
Yes. All right. I'm going to screen share this. And I do have a community member here who is representing about 60 plus neighbors in the area, who is familiar with a lot of the concerns that are being experienced at this. So I'm going to just share my screen and share some information as I educate everyone on what's going on here. All right. Okay. So I received an email from Gary Pence wanting the board to initiate an action item through the Traffic and Transportation Subcommittee regarding the lookout point at Del Monte and Guizot Street. There's been several instances of residents concerned with people parking at the lookout, and under the darkness of night, they're doing all sorts of things, just very similar to what we just discussed, what's happening at the park nearby. And they would like to see something done with that area. So Gary, he asked to get our recommendation about the lookout. And I'm gonna show a picture. Here's the letter that I have with what we agreed upon, but I wanna just show a picture of the lookout. oh, hold on. I think it's back in this. Okay. All right, here we go. So as you can see here, we have Guizot and Del Monte. If you look closer to this area, there is a property with an easement here to the left. Sorry, I'm just kind of readjusting the screen. Here is a property with a driveway easement here on the left. The lookout here, it is within the PCPB boundary as well. There's a lookout point, and then as you can see, they have a waste can and a barrier here. But what they're proposing is that ballards be installed, or a white fence be installed to help remove the ability of people to park there and look out. They're not opposed to having people walk up to the area. And I visited the site several times because I wanted to make sure, maybe I could see what was going on. I did come around sunset time, and I spoke with a few of the neighbors, and they had not experienced anything around the sunset evening hours, but it tends to be, again, later in the evening in the darkness that the behaviors are being observed, and it's problematic to the neighbors. So we did bring this to the subcommittee, and it did pass. As you can see here, the dead end sign here is where we actually are requesting the city to install ballards or a white, sorry, I'm just, to install natural aesthetically pleasing bollards or white barricades that are flush along Guizot Street and in line with the existing yellow dead end sign. And so we did see, there was concern of some of the committee members about was this really an issue, or was this the local community just not wanting visitors on that street? And I will say that I have Lila Taylor here, and I'd like her to speak up on some of those issues when it is appropriate. But one of the main issues that I do see, and I'll go back to the picture, as you can see this silver truck here, people that are parking here, it kind of becomes a sharp right-hand turn and a blind corner. And so, I see that it being a public safety issue, someone parking there and then backing out, and it not being a full stop right here. It's kind of like a zigzag throughput, an S shape. I felt like we kind of felt like the ballards would be appropriate, and it would address those possible public safety issues of someone backing out of the slot into the street, into ongoing traffic. So again, I've screen shared here into the letter that got approved on Tuesday night's meeting. Again, the Peninsula Community Planning Board is in support of the resident request to the City of San Diego to close off the dead end and unpaved section at the intersection of Del Monte Avenue and Guizot Street to vehicle traffic and allow for pedestrian access only. The PCPB would recommend that the City of San Diego install natural, aesthetically pleasing bollards or white barricades that are flush along Guizot Street and in line with the existing yellow dead end sign. So that's the end of the letter. And then I also wanted to share with the group, the city reached out to the OB Planning Board to get their inputs on this request and get their input. So that was discussed at the last Ocean Beach Planning Board meeting, and I just wanted to read their motion. The Ocean Beach Planning Board reviewed the Del Monte and Guizot overlook at our meeting last night. The official motion was this: move to relocate the vehicle barrier 15 feet back and narrow the driveway easement to 10 feet. This will allow room for vehicles and more safe space for people to use the space and add benches. And then as a friendly amendment, they also wrote, with the intention of that space being maintained as a pocket park. And it did pass 8-7. The dissenting votes were from board members who did not want to opine on things that were outside of our planning group boundary. Although the overall consensus was that we did not like how the bollards are placed, but the community is invested in keeping that an open space to the public. So I did want to share that with everyone, and I'd like to open it up to Lila, if you would like to speak to the board regarding some of the issues you're experiencing.
Mandy, well, thank you so much for having me. All of you, your efforts to keep our community safe are so very much appreciated. We went through the horrific things that people are experiencing along Sunset Cliffs, and you know, ours, there's no, it's the same laundry list of you know, having to clean up human excrement, condoms, dirty needles. The difference with our area is that we are the perfect test case. Pre-COVID, I personally witnessed drug deals that were not small drug deals, but drug deals with weapons, U-Haul, trailer, trucks. I, one evening, had to call 911 as a girl was being raped. I have seen and heard things that cannot be unseen and unheard. So it's a large issue in a very small space, and it's such an easy solution. So COVID comes along, and the only upside that I have found COVID is that the city of San Diego came in and closed that area off to vehicular traffic. At that point, the community still enjoyed the space. There's ample street parking, as this is a single family residence area. Most folks park in their driveways or garages. So there's ample street parking. So it doesn't deter people from going into the area. Small children were able to go into the area and actually play safely without the parents worrying that they're going to be hit by a car, because the parking lot itself is a free-for-all. You know, people are pulling in, pulling out. And those are the issues more around the daytime sunset hours. After midnight, then that is when the drug deals have started again, since the area's open again. And so it's rampant drug deals going on. I actually walked down there with a 21-year-old Point Loma student that's living with me at 3 in the afternoon, and we witnessed a couple having sex in their car in the broad open daylight. Having that area closed off to vehicles gets people out of their car. It encourages them to go on foot and enjoy the beauty that is there. And it is certainly not our intent to keep the community here out or people from the city at large. It was a very positive thing when it was closed down. Families came, they enjoyed it. It was a wholesome environment. One of the big things that keeps being mentioned is the lack of resources from law enforcement. Well, so the law enforcement officers that we've spoken with frequently, they're like, we loved having the area closed off to vehicular traffic because we weren't having to come up there for violent crimes. We weren't having to come up there for drug raids. We weren't having to come up there because people had weapons. We weren't having nuisance calls with noise problems. So it actually frees up law enforcement to be in the other areas where they need to be, where you know there are serious problems going on and the law enforcement officers are needed. I know on this call we have 4 of the neighbors, Dr. Ahmad Balani, Mel Mackler, Mary Jean Del Campo. They're all here. They all have had similar experiences. I have a unique vantage point. I'm a little further removed, but yet I'm above it. So I do probably see as much or more as anyone else. But some of the other neighbors have much larger noise complaints, and it's much closer to them. The crime is much closer to them. It's an easy solution. The city has been wonderful in working with us, coming up with plans for bollards. We want it to be accessible to pedestrians. We want it to be ADA compliant. There's no reason that we should not be open to everyone. And we also do want to take into account emergency vehicles. And the city is, you know, they have assured us that they're working on a plan that would allow pedestrian traffic, ADA compliant, and address the emergency vehicle issue, and the goal being closing it down to vehicular traffic.
So thank you, Lila. I appreciate that
Thank
comment. And I'm going to say that before I moved out to Sunset Cliffs, I lived in that general area, and I've walked there 1,000 times with my little dog, and it's a beautiful, beautiful spot. But it was always tricky when I would go there, because you would see a car as you approach, and it's like, oh my God, oh my God, right? And so if there's no car there, you're like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful spot in the world. So, but people in the car were kind of always questionable. So anyway, I will turn it over to comments. I think I saw Brad's hand first and then Lucky.
I want to make a motion to approve the letter. I've been going to that site since I was a child. I live a couple blocks away. Totally appropriate to have that closed off. And after doing so, I mean, I have some questions about whether or not you're going to be able to narrow the easement legally, but it'd be great if further the consideration of that as a pocket park, because that would be an ideal spot for the neighborhood to be able to sit down on a bench and enjoy that view without the barrier that they have presently to keep cars from going over the edge. Yes, totally in support. So yes, a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Brad. Do we have a second? We got a second
from
by
Don.
Mark. I'm gonna let Don second it, because Don, did you want to second it?
I do want to second it, yes, and I comment, wait, my turn in line.
Okay, Lucky, you were next. So do you want to make a comment, Lucky?
Yeah, I had a question. I couldn't tell by really looking at the picture of it, but it looks like we have a short dead-end street that has an easement on the left-hand side of it. And my question is about putting bollards across that street. They can't continue all the way across that street. Doesn't have to be open-ended on the left side for that easement. And if so, what prohibit people from just using that to go ahead and access the area again?
Go ahead, Mandy.
And I would answer that. There is a driveway to the left, and the bollards would not be in front of that. Obviously, it would restrict the travel to and from that property on the left. And then I do want to just point out as well that there is no, I just want to point out that there's plenty of parking nearby. So there's not any restrictive parking or lack of parking areas other than this site. So it wouldn't inhibit people from parking nearby and then walking and enjoying the sunset at the lookout.
Yeah, but that doesn't really ask you my question about how are the bollards going to actually stop somebody from going down that street if they only go partially across the street, unless you continue the bollards going down the easement to close it off, or otherwise you just use the driveway to pull onto that street.
There is there's a wooden, like an old I don't know if it's like a utility pole that is the boundary for that.
Maybe railroad ties, Mandy? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I can pull it up, but again, there is like an old like tree or tree stump or some sort of yellow.
They could delineate that in some fashion, I think. You can see the, looks like railroad ties or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of a gravel driveway too, as I recall it. So I mean, I think it's unlikely people. I mean, there's always could be a hooligan that's going to do whatever, but I mean,
it's clearly delineated. It's clear that it's an easement if you're in that area. So if they're going to be busting through that driveway, I would question their driving skills or what they're planning on doing. They might be going over the ledge, but
Mandy, I'm going to just kind of jump in there just because.
Sure, go ahead, Lila.
We do have that experience of those months where it was closed off to vehicular traffic. We did not have a single incident where anyone actually drove up into the driveway and then into the area. In speaking with the city, with Chris McFadden and his group, they have plans to delineate the easement and tackle those issues. So I think that that is definitely this part of the city knows that that is an issue and needs to be addressed. Thank you.
All right. Don, do you want to make your comment, please?
Yes, this is basically a dead-end street, and all that's being proposed actually is to make it dead end earlier with a banning of vehicular traffic. This can be a real win-win for the community. A pocket park, if they make it more pedestrian friendly, benches, some landscaping, whatever, this can be kind of a place for kids to sit or seniors. This is a win-win. I second it, and I'm obviously going to vote for it.
And I would agree with that. I know that the Ocean Beach Planning Board made some recommendations along that line. Gary's asking us for placement of the ballards. And again, I agree with Don's sentiments about pocket parks and more open space in our community. And I have let Josh Coyne know that I am willing to consider and provide inputs under our Parks and Recreation Subcommittee should they decide to go that route.
Hey,
I
Mandy,
have some
maybe we
public
can find a
comment.
speaker too.
When's public comment on this? That was never introduced.
Oh.
Okay, well, let's finish. Mark, let's do the board. Mark, you got a comment. Let's do a board comment, and then we'll go to public comment.
Thank you.
Hey, I'd like to say that I got an email earlier this week about this subject from El Paso, so it's all the way to Texas. And I went over there to take a look at it, and then I came back to the office here, and I opened up our old 1987 community plan. And I believe this area shows up as the coastal view zone for our community. So it's already been kind of thought about as something that we should preserve and enhance and embrace as an asset to our community. And we've learned that it says also in our community plan, if we find these areas, that pocket parks, dead-end pocket parks are something that we have, encouraged in the past. So when I went out there and looked at it, I said, this is a great opportunity for all the things that we're talking about. And by just taking those 2 parking spaces and getting rid of those 2 parking spaces creates more of an event for our community to go to and appreciate. So I'm very much in favor of this proposal.
All right, let's go to public comment. Kevin, why don't you go ahead?
Hi, sorry to butt in like that. So I want to speak on behalf of myself. I am a member of the OB Planning Board, but I want to speak on behalf of myself and other neighbors that use this place by foot and by car, and want to keep it open as much as possible. I don't think the neighbors want that. Of course, they're not going to admit that, but they want to close it off because, like you said, who's that guy in the car? What's he doing? Well, sometimes that guy in the car is me on my way home from work, stopping for a nice view and maybe a snack, or catch up on my emails. There's very much legitimate uses of that space by parking there. I want to urge the board to seek some kind of compromise, maybe close it, a sign that can be enforced after a certain hour that parking is not allowed. The planning board, the OB board was basically split the space to allow parking, but also allow more pedestrian space. Something that were not mentioned when it was so quiet and peaceful there during COVID. What actually happened is the city initially taped it off with caution tape, but later some guerrilla actions occurred and boulders and other unsanctioned blockades were put in there, and signage that was put in there well after the parks were opening elsewhere to tell everyone that the entire space was closed. So I don't think that's really a fair assessment to say, people were behaving well when the space was pedestrian only. It was closed by the neighbors. The bench there was also removed. That bench has been there as long as I've been here. So it seems clear to me that they don't want people there. I get it. I don't want to live next to a space where people are hanging out. But the fact is there's no shade there. There's nowhere to sit now. The only shade is your car. The neighboring homeowners actually have 50% of that public right-of-way used as their own personal property, personal driveway, overgrown landscaping that blocks the sidewalk access on the north side. So it's clear to me that their motives are as such to keep as many people out as possible. And they know that if you block it off to cars, which is the primary use, it's not going to get used. I go there all the time. I don't see kids and families playing out there very rarely. You know, usually it's just a guy sitting in his car, and heck, maybe he's smoking. I mean, I do pick up their cigarette butts. I clean up the graffiti as well. So I get that, you know, people use the space. It's gonna have to be maintained. But I would urge the board to find some kind of compromise, whether it's a nighttime closure or maybe splitting the space in half. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Do we have
May I respond to Kevin? I just want to respond to Kevin. Again, I agree with your thoughts on that. Again, I thought that this may have been a possibility as well. I don't live in that area. And again, I did do the research. I did speak with Josh Coyne about this, and he's the one who actually got me in contact with Lila. And he was aware that there have been some police reports, or there's actual reports that show the incidents that are happening there. Lila, do you have those available to share? Or maybe Monique or Josh, if they're still on the call, they can provide that to me and I can share it with the community. But it is there. And regarding parking, there is quite a bit of parking. I will agree, I don't believe there's a lot of covered, shaded parking. But again, the bollards or the barrier would not restrict the use of the lookout by pedestrians. So I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
Hi, Mandy. This is Monique. Can you repeat that last part? I didn't hear you.
Hi, Monique. When I have an email from Josh Coyne when he introduced me to Lila, he stated that he had a list of the reports, of those police reports that have been made by the neighbors of the incidents, just to help support that. If he has that available, I would appreciate that so I can forward to the board if possible.
Okay, I'll go ahead and touch base with him, see if we could get that, and I'll forward it over to you if we have it.
I did look at the last 6 months of police reports. That's all that's available without going internally. There has been one police report for graffiti that was back in April, actually when it was closed. There's been none since, and I realized part of that it was closed, you know, partially without, you know, sanctioning from the city. But I just wanted to highlight that. I looked at the crime map, and it's absolutely nothing compared to the other overlook type spaces. I think it's way overblown what the issues are here, and it's just the taking of public space.
All right, thank you, Kevin. I jumped over Robert when I went to public comment. So Cameron, I see you. So I'm going to go Robert Jackson and then Cameron. So and then
real quick, and I know I brought this up during the committee meeting, but obviously vehicles have to get around these ballards because of the easement in the driveway on the south side. But I think as long as you have a real dark cul-de-sac location like that, and I know people don't like the light pollution, you're going to have to get the city or somebody or the private residents to do some lighting, and that'll discourage people from hanging out, making out in the cars, drug dealing, whatever, because they don't like being under any type of lighting situation. And maybe do like a motion sensor or something just to deter people and make them uncomfortable, so they'll maybe move on if they're up to no good, and make it where it's not impeding in people's residences.
That was suggested. The concern of the committee was that it would bring light pollution to the community.
Where it doesn't. Make it where it doesn't. You could design it where it maybe focuses on a certain spot and doesn't go into people's windows, you know, to that level.
All right, Cameron, did you want to make a comment then?
I did. I think there's a couple things that are being lost here in this discussion, and Kevin, with your assessment, there's a little bit of a disagreement here. First off, there's already no parking signs there. You're not supposed to be parking there right now already. If you go up there, there's no parking signs. If you zoom in on the pictures, that was provided by Gary Pence, you'll see there's no parking there. So there's actually no loss of parking to the community already. You're not supposed to be parking there. If you actually go up to the area and look, you realize that was supposed to be a road that's going through there. But based on the gradient, it's impossible for them to build a road down through there, which is why there's no road there right now. This is not an open space. This is not a park. This is not a land grab. This is a very obvious oversight and a safety issue by the city. So there's already no parking that's supposed to be allowed there, so you're not losing any parking. This is a safety issue by coming in and out of the cars, and the cars aren't supposed to be there in the first place. Also, the homeowner has not taken 50% of the space. He has maybe taken 10 feet out of the entire road, and it's not even the entire road, it's just the street parking to access his driveway that's there to ensure that he has access to his driveway already. I'm pretty sure Gary Pence knows what he's doing and understands these easements and will ensure that anything that gets put up there will not infringe upon the homeowner's rights. This letter that's being presented is only to pull off, to only barricade off part of the street that's already there. It's not going to, it's only supposed to be accessible by pedestrians right now, and anything they put there will still be accessible by pedestrians. It's not a land grab. It's actually doing what the city should have done a long time ago and put some sort of safety barrier there to keep cars from going through there. But anyways, like I said, there's already no parking there, and there's no loss of parking to the community or anybody around there. And yeah, that's all I got. You guys have a great night. Bye.
That's not true. It's simply not true. Those signs are no vehicle habitation. That's what they say. There is no sign saying no parking there.
Well, it's okay. So no vehicle habitation. You're not supposed to be in your car there, right there, Kevin. Kevin, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. It's okay. Don't sit in your car and watch the sunset. Park your car where you're supposed to, and go there.
You guys have had your say.
Fred, can we have some new speakers speak, please, that have been waiting?
Well, I think really what we should do is I think I'm going to go to the board and I'm going to find out whether the board is ready to vote or not. Don, are you?
Yeah, I would call for the question.
I would call for the question too. So all those in favor of approving the letter? Got one. I got Margaret, Don, Corla, Sarah, Andy, Lucky, Robert, Brad, which I believe is unanimous, and Mark. So I think that's unanimous. Mandy, good job on the letter.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate the support for this motion.
All right, Mandy.
All right, the final. All right.
The last item.
All right, so we have a letter of support for a city installed mitigation on the corner of Chatsworth and Plumosa. So I'll go ahead and screen share that right now. This is an action item that got tabled from the previous Peninsula Community Planning Board meeting, as well as our last Traffic and Transportation Subcommittee meeting regarding
what's that?
Regarding the installation of a crosswalk at Plumosa Park. As you can see here, here's the design that's been provided by the city. And we actually requested more information to Gary about this request, because we had concerns about the, if you see in the center of the crosswalk, there's a curb there that kind of limits the lanes here within the crosswalk. And then some of the concerns that the committee had was regarding the turn from Plumosa, making that left turn and being able to do so without, restricting the car going through the crosswalk. Some of the other concerns were hyacinth and bike lanes, but I wanted to, hold on one moment. There's another picture. So this is an email from Gary Pence regarding the crosswalk. Some of the thoughts that we had originally requested in our original letter that came up was to raise the curb of the crosswalk to kind of create a speed bump type mitigation. One of the requests was to see if track lighting could be installed along the in-pavement flashers along the crosswalk. And then some of the concerns regarding the narrowness of the lanes and to modify the design if necessary. And so, however, there will be a pedestrian-led activated beacon that will be attached to the crosswalk. So you'll see that lighted flashing light that will alert drivers that there's someone utilizing the crosswalk. I did want to invite, here's the letter that got approved on Tuesday. We're asking, the Peninsula Community Planning Board is in support of the resident-initiated request for traffic mitigations to be installed on the corner of Chatsworth Boulevard and Plumosa Drive in the vicinity of Plumosa Park. The PCPB would recommend that the city investigate whether the bulb out curbs as outlined in enclosure 1 could be rounded softly so that a bicyclist could access the bulb out area if unable to merge safely into the narrowed travel lane. The proposed pedestrian-led traffic beacon and associated crosswalk will help make crossing Chatsworth Boulevard safer for pedestrians and allow greater community access to Plamosa Park. And I enclosed a picture of the draft here as the second part of the letter. And I'll kind of zoom in here. As you can see, they have match existing curb here. That's going to match the cutout here on the corner. And with bike, there's a bike lane to the back. And what the concern is that cyclists will be sharing the lane and the area with vehicles, and it would become a safety issue. So the request that is here along these curb cutouts that there would be a bulb out, so that would allow cyclists to access the curb should they have issues with competing for space with a vehicle. So those were the recommendations that we brought. This was a community-led request to the city. Elizabeth Gerard is a neighbor there, and I'm not sure if she made it on the call. I know she was traveling. I did ask her to come and speak regarding this issue. If she's here, I'd like her to speak at this point. And if not, if there's any other neighbors, there were quite a few neighbors in attendance at Tuesday night's meeting to speak and advocate on behalf of the neighborhood for this mitigation. Is there anyone who would like to speak from the neighborhood?
Why don't let's go ahead and have Lucky speak. I think he lives near that area. I know that I drive on that area a lot, and it's one of those areas where it's hard to see. So go ahead, Lucky.
Yeah, that Plamosa Park is probably, I don't know, within 150 yards of my house. I live on Lotus Drive, just around the corner from it. So part of that is some of the issue is that part of Chatsworth where it goes through there is actually a kind of a double S turn. So you have two blind-sided curves in very short 50, 60-yard space of each other. So that's part of why it's so problematic in trying to get across at that point. In fact, if you notice, similar types of crossing signs have been put in particularly because of the specialty of having Point Loma High School just down the street about a quarter of a mile or so. So there's a lot of kind of indications for pedestrians through that area anyways, but people really tend to fly through that area. And since it's a blind turn to some, they can be right on somebody very, very quickly. So I'm not sure what the engineering solution is for being able to give some relief at that particular intersection there. But I can say it certainly is dangerous and requires some sort of attention.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Lucky, that like when I'm in the Loma Portal area and I need to cross the street there, I purposely drive several blocks around just so that I don't have to cross in that particular area because I can't see what's going on. So it's
And I will point out that there is a crosswalk nearby, but it's off Browning, and it's Browning and Chatsworth, and it's quite a distance for the neighbors to access to get across the street.
So I didn't understand where we were with the information from Pence and our drawing. Is that something we kind of accept, or was that the recommendation to do that? I know since that's a major artery, city traffic would probably be very reluctant to do much constructing of a drive space. That's all I had.
Okay. Brad, do you have a comment?
Lucky, yeah. I mean, if Gary's the one doing the drawing, I mean, they're the senior traffic engineers. problematic area, downhill, people going too fast. I mean, it's really going to slow down traffic the way it pinches with that median in the center. Good point, Mandy, on the gradation of the curb, because of course those bulb outs are going to be very problematic for a bike rider. I mean, I rode down there 2 days ago on my bike, and that would have been difficult. I'm fully in support of this. One comment I want to make, and this is a little bit unrelated, but it has to do with flashing beacons and the traffic committee, because I know that they're a really confusing thing in that the light color is wrong. I mean, for these things to be effective, it seems as though, because people don't know how to behave on a caution, but it's a state law that they're yellow. And for some, I don't know if we need to change the state law or what, but might the traffic committee consider asking for these RRFBs to be red, flashing red? People know how to behave on a flashing red. They stop. So just a thought. We want it to be safe. People going across there. I think it's going to be a real boon to people that are in Loma Portal are actually going to be able to go to Formosa Park and not have to go all the way up to Browning, which is another problematic intersection that has accidents. So anyway, thank you very much, Traffic Committee. I'm fully on board.
Okay, do we have a motion? Margaret?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any public comment? Do we have any further board comment? Mark? Or are you just getting ready to vote?
And I'm sorry, for my motion slip, Mandy, what project is that? What letter?
That would be well, it would be action number 4, but it's now action number 3 because of the change. So that would be Chatsworth and Plumosa.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone is in favor of the letter, please raise your hand. I've got Margaret, Don, Corla, Mark, Mandy, Lucky, Robert, Brad, and I don't know if Sarah's still here or not, so I think that's 7-0. Unanimous. Okay.
Thank you again, everyone. I do appreciate the inputs and the contributions that a lot of the community neighbors came out to these meetings to offer their input. So again, I really appreciate the community joining us and participating in the process. So thank you.
Well, and I think that's well stated, Mandy. I think that we had a lot of community input on all of these, which is great, and we welcome that. And you also did a great job, and so we appreciate all your hard work on that too.
Thank you.
All right, we're coming to the home stretch now. Do we have any subcommittee reports that anybody wants to give? All right, do we have any
CPC.
ad hoc committee? Oh, go ahead, Corla.
CPC, you want that now or later?
Yeah, we can do CPC report now, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I'm on my iPad, so I don't have access to all my good stuff. A couple of things about CPC. Thank you, Mandy, for attending. She was there for the part of the last meeting. It was really nice to see someone else there. And Tracy spoke about the sidewalk vending problem. That was a big discussion. OB put forth some nice recommendations on that. And so I don't have to report on that. As far as election goes, the city is developing guidelines. They say guidance will be forthcoming. Our committee would have met had David not had a tragedy in his family. So I think that's going to be happening. It's going to be discussed. And we just have to wait, just be patient just a little bit more. They also discussed Zoom recordings. Some planning boards are using Zoom recordings as their official record instead of taking minutes. And I believe right now that's problematic. According to our bylaws and the city, right now we need to have written minutes for the permanent record. But the city said they will make a determination if Zoom recordings can be used for the permanent record in the future. So that's something we might want to watch for that might come up. And that's there's a lot of other stuff going on, but this is basically what I think would be of interest to us.
Any questions for Corla? Okay. Well, do we have any other committees? Is there any comments by long-range planning or anything that we need to know on that, Margaret?
I am in the process of meeting with my committee and setting a date for next week, so I'll keep you posted to share, Fred, but I really encourage Sunset Cliffs to be part of that meeting because I want to add them to our plans for future, just have them on our radar for other items that they're facing. And then everyone else that's here tonight, I hope you can be part of that. And if anybody has suggestions on what they want to see us discuss in long-range planning for our community as a whole, please email me. You can find my contact information on the PCPB .org website, and you can find everything on there for other subcommittees as well. If you miss a meeting, just go to that website up to meetings and subcommittee. It's all there, and you can find all the Zooms and all that good stuff to familiarize yourself with what's going on in our community and with our board. So thank you all for coming tonight.
Okay. And then I'm going to make a quick report on the airport. I know that there's going to be an ANAC, Airport Noise Advisory Committee meeting next Thursday at 4 o'clock. They are going to go over the whole Part 1 noise abatement history as part of that meeting. So it'll be an educational meeting for anybody who's interested in knowing about what's going on with the Part 150 study and how it started and where it stands currently. So that's next Wednesday at 4 o'clock. If you're interested, let me know. Send me an email and I'll give you the information so you can attend via Zoom. Any other committee reports that people want to make? Do we want to say anything about the environmental committee or anything like that?
Eva is not here tonight. Again, just, with her profession and with school, and I think everyone is just trying to get through the day the best way that they can. So she unfortunately hasn't been able to attend consistently, but she's also very much interested in the environmental ad hoc being possibly a permanent subcommittee for the PCPB, being that we do live on the West Coast. We're right on the front lines of, the sea level rising, and there's a multitude of environmental issues that our neighborhood experiences. So that's one of our goals. Earlier, Ann talked about the tree planting initiative. We have several members of that committee who are very interested in taking advantage of that mission and finding opportunities to plant 100 trees in the community. I don't know about the end of the year, we'll see. But those are some of the issues that we're discussing. And then don't forget that before COVID, we had also the board approved us establishing a liaison for a high school level student in the Peninsula boundary to participate in the process as well. And so we'll continue. We don't have any meetings set at this point. Hopefully we can have one for November. Again, cross your fingers. There's a lot going on right now. But when we do, we'll be sure to let everyone know when we plan to do that. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you. And I do want to confirm that we are going to move forward with a regularly scheduled meeting next month in November. And I'm in general planning to be dark in December, which is our tradition. So if people want to deviate from that, just let me know. But I think we've all done a great job everything back up. So I think that's reasonable. All right, with that, do we have any other comment by anybody on the board that they want to make? Anybody else in the public that wants to make a comment about anything? And I want to thank everybody. I think it was a very productive meeting. We talked about a lot of issues. We had a great community support and great work by the board. So thank all of you. I really, really appreciate it. So with that, do we need a motion to adjourn? I think so, technically. I think I'll take that from the way from Corla as a motion to adjourn, which I will grant. So there we are. That's the end of the meeting. You can turn off the recording. Thank you, Margaret, for setting everything up.